Brother Lee. Hey. How my daughter? This is all the way from Zimbabwe. waMadzikane. Utizikali. All the way from Zimbabwe. It's a nice Ndebele song. Hey, my people, welcome. Murena Lihlohonolo, Brother Lee. Dumela ngwanesu, dumela. Ria kwamuhela montlung ena. Ria kwamuhela mrena, siyakwamkela. Please, my brother, feel free. I'm happy to have you on the panel. This is a song from Isindebele Zimbabwe. It's a song from Isindebele Zimbabwe. That's why I play it. I like it. You cannot differentiate. If you are closer, you'll think it's a closer song. And that's beautiful. That's good. My people, Brother Lee and all the viewers, today we are going to talk about the subject we were talking about yesterday, the foundational people of South Africa. We're going to continue on that. But before that, we're going to talk about this whole thing of Azania. There's been so much commotion around Azania. The name of the song is Izikali by waMadzikane. Mazilankatha. The name of the song is Izikali Weapons. Today, I want us to talk about the whole story of Azania. Brother Limakara, are you ready, my brother? Yeah?
Ah. Yeah, no, thank you for having me, ke a leboha. Wena
Yes,
Ntate
brother.
Madzikane, wena morenaka, ke a leboha haholo hore we took the time so we can talk about this important subject.
Yes, my
Um,
brother.
you know how these names can be stamped into our society to make it look like they actually they come from us and they are
Yes,
part of
yes.
our language and vocabulary. So I'm really excited to see you break it down
Yes, brother.
and also just inform people, so that they can actually see umlando wala ekhaya.
Yes, brother.
Mabasibizi silandela umlando wangaphandle. So thank you very much. Cool.
Thank you, my brother. No, I appreciate it, brother, man. I really do. I have some screenshots here. I don't know why they are not showing, but it's fine. I will see. Maybe there's a problem with the thing. Sanbona making
What is it?
money.
Is it telling you about size?
Maybe let me just quickly sort something out. Let me try again. I think it may work now. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's fine now. It's fine. It's good now. Kgotsong bana beso, kgotsong bagaeso, dumelang, khotsoba, enda, ageng, and all other greetings. Today we are gonna start with Azania. There's been so much commotion around this whole thing of Azania. How did it start? We're gonna address how this whole thing of Azania started. We're gonna address um, why it's being linked to South Africa. We're gonna address if there's any validity to the Azania story regarding South Africa. And then we're gonna address what is the etymology, what is the linguistic origin of this word Azania? Does it have anything to do with South African languages? Is it biblical? Is it Hebrew? Does it mean it's a Hebrew name? Because people are saying that as well. Or is it Arabic? Or is it older than Arabic? It's a completely different thing. Is it an Asian name? Is it an African name? What is it? We're going to look at some of the sources and how old is this word altogether in terms of if it's valid, how old is it? And does it have anything to do with us as South Africans? This Azania thing. And guys, I'm big on the names of things. I'm big on names of things because I believe that people should name their own things by themselves. People should name themselves. I've spent a better part of more than a year right now here on TikTok and even on YouTube. My channel is Sandile Tukani. I've spent the better part of these past few 14 months, 16 months, I don't know, trying to get as much attention as I can towards the importance of names, be it place names, be it geographical names, be it all sorts of names, because I believe they carry much meaning and impact to those which are named. And therefore, I support greatly the effort to rename some towns. Not because, and I mostly, I don't even support all new names. I always believe in restoring older names. Uh, because remember, as South Africa, we are a people who are operating from a place of disequilibrium. We were disturbed in our journey of self definition, and we're trying to restore that. So I believe that naming cities, towns, rivers, mountains, people, clan names, ethnic names, when those things are named by people who have no connection to those things to begin with, I think it poses danger. I think it poses danger and it causes chaos because names for us are not just names, they have real impact and meaning. And we believe names are sort of like a prophecy into the future. We are projecting when we name things. So I've always been a big supporter and proponent even of name changes. I think names should change, you know. Places like Port Elizabeth, I'm happy that they are no longer Port Elizabeth, they are Gqeberha today. Places like Cape Town at some point will have to be changed. We don't have Cape Town. Johannesburg will have to change. We don't have Johannesburg. Kimberley will have to change. It's very important to restore even the older names. Sometimes I get bothered by every single thing being named by politicians. I get it with structures that are man-made, like airports and all that. I don't mind using people's names, but there are things that are very important, like rivers. I don't think those things should be named based on personal names. I think we should go back to the original names, which tend to carry much weight. Anyway, so I believe naming is a very important part of our culture. Now, what is this fuss about Azania? Why? How do we find ourselves in this situation where instead of the many things we could be talking about, we are so worried about Azania? Hey, we are Azania. No, we are not Azania. I understand. So let's go back and check, just a week or 2 weeks ago, this party called ATM, African Transformation Movement, I think, led by Zungula. I'm having issues with the size, but yeah, this is Zungula. You guys know Zungula, Vuyo Zungula. He's the parliamentary leader of this party. He's the one who proposed, he came with a bill, proposed that we should change South African name to ATM, to Azania, right? Said we should change the name to Azania. Okay, I will do so, Brother Lee. Because this name was used before. The thing is, the main reason why South Africans identify with this name is because this name was revived by the times of the Black Consciousness Movement. You see, during the time of the Black Consciousness Movement, the time of Pan-Africanism, this name was revived. So movements like the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, the PAC, and the Black Consciousness Movement of Steve Biko, and other movements that come after that, such as AZAPO, all these movements revived this name Azania. But these movements are political movements. These people are not historians. Steve Biko is not a historian. Robert Sobukwe is not a historian. Even Vuyo Zungula is not a historian. They were activists, they were thinkers, they were politicians, but they were not historians. Now we're going to look at the historical basis of identifying our land as Azania. Does Azania have anything to do with us, or does it not? Now, I do understand the need to self-define. I do understand the need to disconnect and distance oneself with colonial projects like Republic of South Africa, the Union of South, because the Republic of South Africa in and of itself, is a result of colonialism to begin with, right? But today we talk about Azania. So the reason why South Africans today think Azania was the name of South Africa is because the Black Consciousness Movement revived this name. They revived the name Azania. Not because there's evidence that it was the name of South Africa, but it was revived by the Black Consciousness Movement through leadership such as Steve Biko, Robert Sobukwe, which are people that I love and respect. Okay? So Vuyo Zungula now, the parliamentary leader of the ATM, came amongst many things proposing this change. Remember now, this proposal is a proposal to change the constitution, some provisions in the constitution. So I'm not entirely against the proposal of Vuyo Zungula, but amongst the many things that Vuyo Zungula says must be changed, the name of South Africa is there. They reference places like Namibia, because Namibia was once Southwest Africa, so they reference actions that were taken by the people of Namibia to change it from Southwest Africa to Namibia. I still have my own reservations with even the name Namibia in and of itself, because even the naming convention, the suffix IA in Namibia, that suffix is very foreign and colonial. Namib is indigenous, but Namibia, it's clear who the people who were at the forefront of naming, who they were influenced by. It sounds like it was named by Romans. Anyway, so that's one of the proposals to the constitution. Other proposals to the constitution by Vuyo Zungula, they want to replace the word everyone in the constitution to the word citizens. When it says South Africa belongs to everyone or to all who live in it, they want to change that to citizens, which I don't have a problem with. And there are many other things. So that's how this Azania thing got, it became a prominent issue today. And you can see it on social media. People are like, I'm from Azania, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it sounds retarded to say the least, but that's what's happening. But what is Azania now? What is Azania and what isn't Azania? Perhaps I'm going to start with, South Africans, like populist things. We are a people who generally like populist things. So, when we talk about Azania, there are many, many places that bear the name Azania. There are many places that bear the name Azania. But the most recent usage of the name Azania is here in South Africa. It has been applied in various parts of southeastern tropical Africa. But there are earlier versions in written text, in ancient maps, not even ancient, like medieval maps, you see, where this name Azania has existed. But in modern times, this name has been used by political movements within South Africa or even Southern Africa. This word has been used, and I mentioned PAC, and I mentioned hey, Zungu. Yes, Zungu means foreigner. It means someone who's always on the move, wanderer. So that's another interesting thing. But anyway, in 1933, a man called Huntingford, G.W.B. Huntingford, proposed a theory. He proposed a theory that as there was a civilization in Kenya and in northern Tanzania between the Stone Age period and the Islamic period. And this civilization, the people who inhabited this area that was called Azania, were people who were more like Somalis, more closely related to Somalis, Eritreans, and Ethiopians than the modern day understanding, which says the Bantu or Ndu peoples. You understand? So Azania was never even a thing in the so-called Abantu groups. It was more like a thing amongst the Somali, Eritrean groups. But the most interesting thing is that in Somalia, when there was a few years ago, there was a war between in the 2010s, a province of Somalia called Juba or Jubaland. A province of Somalia called Juba or Jubaland declared itself independent. This province declared itself as an independent province, and they call themselves the Republic of Azania. This is from 2011 to 2013. They became a self-proclaimed state, autonomous state of Jubaland in southern Somalia, calling themselves the Republic of Azania. Or in Somalia, I think it's Daulada Azania. Daulada Azania. So this is a fact. It happened. This is the flag of Azania in Somalia. So that's one. But there is another, much more ancient. We see it in Greek books. We see it in Roman books. This type of Azania shows up in logbooks of ships that were moving to and fro. You see in this picture, The area that is circled as yellow with a yellow circle, just look at that name there. That's Azania. This map was made in 1597. It's a map that was made in 1597, right? So it's a very old map, even before South Africa as a polity existed. 1597. And this map right here contains, if you look at the red dots, it contains areas that Greek ships went and did trading. Greek ships went and did trading in all these areas. According to the Greeks, Azania was a coastal area stretching from what we understand as Tanganyika, Tanzania, or possibly even northern Mozambique, all the way to the Horn of Africa in Somalia and Eritrea. I repeat, Azania was a coastal strip stretching from northern Mozambique, but particularly concentrated in Eritrea, Somalia, all the way to the south to areas like Kenya and bits and pieces of Tanganyika. This is what Azania was. It was an area in the coast. This is why most of the ship logbooks, the trading ship logbooks, always have a record of Azania. I haven't gotten to the meaning of the word. I'm just giving you some context. We have a place called Azania in Jubaland in Somalia today. We have maps. We have maps that show an actual area, but it's a coastal area from as far back as 1597. An coastal area called Azania. I have another map here. I've circled the area called Azania. You can see it's around the Horn of Africa, north of what is known as Berbers. So Azania, yes, is an area that sort of like existed as a trading port, was a trading strip, which originated in a very concentrated manner from the Horn of Africa area. Now, there's a book. There are some writings by Pliny the Elder. Pliny the Elder wrote heavily about what we understand as Azania today. This is Pliny the Elder. No. Yes, this is Gaius Plinius Secundus. He lived in AD 23 and he died in AD 79. Pliny the Elder, in his writings, I repeat, this gentleman was born in 23 AD and he died in 79 AD. His name was Gaius Plinius Secundus. This man wrote about Azania. He wrote about the Azanian Sea. He says, and this is in the 20 AD to 30 AD, he says, there was an emporium called Adulis. What is an emporium? It's basically like a city from the word empire. An emporium is like a small version of empire. So this man, Gaius Plinius Secundus, in the time period AD 23 to AD 79, which is his lifetime, he says there was an emporium called Adulis. An emporium called Adulis. It stretched from what we know as Eritrea today, all the way to the southern coast of Africa, along the Indian Ocean. I repeat, the record, this is possibly one of the oldest records of what is called Azania today, by the Greek Gaius Plinius Secundus, called Plinius the Elder. He says Azania was an area that stretched from Adulis, which was an emporium in Eritrea, all the way down to the south coast of Africa, which is referring to Mozambique. It was in the Azanian Sea. What is the Azanian Sea? Is what we call the Indian Ocean today. So that now the Greek usage, how did the Greeks know to use the word Azania? Who told the Greeks to use the word Azania? Possible explanations say that this Greek usage resonated with a term around the Horn of Africa. The Greeks used the term Azania in AD 23 already, which was incongruent use with words that were used in the Horn of Africa. Now, in the Horn of Africa, but maybe there's another book that was written in AD 1, 2,000 years ago. This book is called Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. This is the book. This is the Erythraean Sea. You see, it's written the Erythraean Sea. If you look on the left, there's the Horn of Africa. You can see Cape Elephant, Cape of Spices. These are things that they are trading. These are things that the Greek go and buy in each of these locations. The Greeks go to each of these locations to buy these things. So they wrote a travelogue or a book with logs of travel. This travelogue was called the Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. It was written around 1 AD, 2,000 years ago. In that book, they include traded items such as awls, traded items such as knives, glass, and iron implements, which were bought by the Azanians. In fact, in the book Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, there's chapter 15 there, which suggests that Azania is a littoral area south of present-day Somalia, the Lesser and Greater Bluffs, or the Lesser and Greater Strands, which were called the 7 courses of Azania. In fact, chapter 16 in the same book, thank you Ndabezita, thank you so much. This is a zoomed in view. Chapter 16 of the same book that was written in 1 AD. Chapter 16 describes an emporium called Rapta, which is, an emporium is basically some kind of a province. An emporium called Rapta, which was located in Puralean Islands at the end of the 7 courses of Azania. They describe this emporium of Rapta as the southernmost market of Azania. This is possibly Delagoa Bay or somewhere close to Delagoa Bay. It's an island. It is known as the southernmost market of the coast of Azania. So Azania was the coast, which is said to be a strip from Eritrea in an emporium called Adulis. So it's a group of towns from Eritrea, which is in what we know as now the Red Sea, basically, from Eritrea all the way down to what we know as Mozambique. All those different towns there were basically referred to as the towns of Azania. What is Azania? The sea, the coast. Why is the coast called Azania? Because the people that inhabit the coastline are known as Azanians. Why were the people called Azanians? We're getting closer to it, don't worry. Now, if you notice, in this coast, you have Eritrea, you have Somalia, and then you have Kenya, and then close you have Ethiopia, and then you have Tanzania, and then you have Mozambique. These are countries that are either on the coast directly or nearby. In fact, the word Azania is literally attached to the name of Tanzania. It's also in the name of Zanzibar. Tanzania is literally Tanganyika plus Azania. 2 states that were merged. Tanganyika and Azania gives you Tanzania. Tanganyika and Azania gives you Tanzania. No, the map is not confusing. Berbers were there. Wait until you see more maps from earlier times. You will be confused even more. Remember, the names like Berbers and all that referred more like to groups of people who lived a certain lifestyle, people who would move around, like Bedouins. It's like people who would move around, people who had like camels and stuff like that. It was not like some race thing that we see today. Today, when you say Berbers, people think it's North Africans, but that's not necessarily what it was back then. Like the name Bazungu or Abelungu, it was not white people. It was different groups of traders, people who were moving around, wanderers like Arabs, Yemenis, Omanis, Turkics, etc. So Azania was in reference to that. Tebuho, I just said that Tanganyika and Zanzibar literally joined to become Tanzania. But Zanzibar itself comes from the word Zanji and Bara, which means the island. You see? Zanji and Bara, the island. Yara, the name Azania does not historically refer to the southern east tropical areas. No. Azania refers to the coastal strip from Adulis. You can see Adulis there. Look at there, just above Aksumites, above Aksum, which was an empire in the Horn of Africa. Look at above Aksum, you can see there's a place called Adulis. And then just below, at the very bottom, there's a place called Rapta. There's a red line that goes from Adulis all the way through the Horn of Africa down to Rapta. Those places are called Emporia, the Emporia of the Azanian Sea. These are the Emporia of the Azanian Sea, which means these are the towns of the Azanian Sea. These are the towns of the Azanian Sea. So Adulis, Koloe, Avalites, Malawi, Mosilia, Mundus, Pano, Opone, Sarapion, Nikon, all the way to Rapta, all these areas are known as Azania in essence because they are across the Azanian Sea. But this is what's written on the Periplus. According to John Donnelly Farge, the early Greeks documents altogether told us clear that the origin of the inhabitants of the Azanian coast, the Azanians, was of the exact same stock as the Afro-Asiatic populations in Somalia and Eritrea. The people, the traders that you found in these areas, a lot of the times tended to be related to Somalis and Ethiopians and Eritreans. It makes sense because they traded a lot with people from Oman, with people from Yemen. This is how you get Yemenis in South Africa today who are called Abalemba. This is how you get Yemenis who are called the Lemba people today. The Salefa, the Salif, Al-Salif, the Suleimani, because they were traders along the Azanian Sea. But none of these tradings have anything to do with South Africa today. In fact, around 100 AD, there's a writer who also mentioned Azania called Claudius Ptolemy and Cosmas Indicopleustes. This was 600 AD. He also mentioned Azania. So the historical validity of the name Azania cannot be questioned. The name Azania is a historically factual name. It existed. I just wanted to clarify that the name Azania is a real name. It refers to a real place or a group of places which are in reference to a real sea, and there are real people in what is called Azania. But now, the people known as Azanians are not one group of homogeneous people. Just like today, the people who inhabit these areas, all the way from Eritrea down to Mozambique, it's not the same. It's not like one group of people that are homogeneous. Thank you, Mansupa, and thank you everyone else for the gifts. It's not this one homogeneous group of people. It's a strip of trading ports that the Greeks traded with, that the Chinese traded with, that some Southeast Asian countries traded with along the east coast of Africa, from the Horn of Africa down to Southeast Africa. These groups of people, a very good example of these groups of people are the Swahili speaking people. The Swahili speaking people are very diverse genetically. Some have Omani blood, some have Yemeni blood, some have Horn of Africa, like Afro-Asiatic blood. Some have more like, Abantu, Baswahili blood. Some are more related to Kenyans, some are more related to Mozambicans, literally. And that is the nature of the whole idea of being Azanian. It's sea traders, coast dwellers. And this is recorded in this book, The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. And also, remember now, Plinius the Elder mentioned the exact same thing. Plinius the Elder mentioned the exact same 23. He spoke about Azania as being a town or an empire in ancient Somalia, as well as Herodotus. Absolutely. Herodotus also mentioned Azania. So in the Periplus now of Eritrea, in this group of documents, the Azanians themselves are said to have been people who made small boats and they did hunt and fish. It's interesting that Somalia is known today as being pirates. In fact, the Periplus itself describes the Azanians, but not deeply. It just says they're dark-skinned and they have good physique. That's it. That's literally how they describe the people of Azania. They say they're dark-skinned with good physique. Only. That's the only definition. So the name Azania is literally the name of the east coast from Eritrea to Mozambique. That's it. That's what the name is in reference to. Look at the emporium called Adulis, just below the word Arabian Gulf. The sea that you see there is what is known as the Red Sea today. Just below the Arabian Gulf, there's a blue dot called Adulis. That is probably the oldest record of a place called Azania. But all these other places below that, all the way to Rapta, which is in what is known as northern Mozambique or southern Tanzania today, all these places were known as the Azanian Emporia or Azanian ports. And these dots you see here show Greek records. So Greek ships used to go there to buy stuff, spices, cinnamon, slaves. You can see where they written Berbers next to Opone. Greeks were there to buy slaves. They were there to buy spices. They were there to buy cinnamon. Where is written Modicilium or Mosilium? The Greeks were there to buy pearls. Where in the Horn of Africa, the Greeks were there to buy Cape elephant and other things like spices. Deep into Aksum, they went to buy what? Ivory, just next to what is written as Ethiopia. So this is what Azania is, in essence. In essence, it is a group of these areas, right? But, and yes, the coast then, that was known as the Azanian Sea. This coastline was known as the Azanian Sea to traders. And this is where you get Zanji coast. The Arabs used the word Azania much later. Mofarite, Hadramite, and Omani merchants, they also traded a lot in these coastal areas. In fact, the name Mozambique itself comes from Musa ibn Bikwe. The name Mozambique comes from Musa ibn Bikwe. True, brother Mukaranga. The Persians heavily involved in trading in this coast all the way to southern Africa. And it is through these coastal towns that these guys get access to inland and landlocked countries like Great Zimbabwe, the Limpopo Shashe Valley, countries like Kenya, countries like Ethiopia, they get access through the ports. You understand? This is how we end up today with Valemba of Salefa, or the House al-Salef. Valemba of Saleman, the House of al-Suleiman, and many others like the Saba, the Sena Valembas. You know, Sena is a town today in Yemen. Mozambique is not a Portuguese name, it's an Arabic name. Musa ibn Bikwe. It's Musa ibn Bikwe, a guy who was from Oman. He was an Omani merchant. Omani merchants, Hadramite merchants, Mofarite merchants, they established and these people are from the Arabian Peninsula, by the way. These people are from the Arabian Peninsula. You see, Arabia, they were heavily here. Moors, Bedouins, they were heavily here in Southern Africa, not just in Mozambique, inland. If you read some of the Portuguese writings about Great Zimbabwe, they tell you that there were Bedouins, there were Moors, there were Arabs, Persians who were trading. That's why there was silk in Southern Africa since the 1400s. Read up on these things. People think silk arrived in the 1800s. No, there was silk in the 1400s, cotton in the 1400s. If you look at some old drawings of the Portuguese, old drawings of Natal, the Natal tribes, they call them the Natal savages. Those people are wearing fabrics with colors in the 1400s. Come on now. So these merchants, they established various trading ports on the Zani coast. What is the Azani coast? Azanian Sea. Now, the etymology of Semitic origins, South Semitic origins, there's an older etymology. There's an older etymology for Azania. Some people say it comes from the Hebrew word Azania. Some people say it comes from the Arabic word Al-Zania, or the land of the Zani. However, oral traditions in the Horn of Africa, these people say the name comes from an older ancestor called Azan, an old king called Azan, which means it was a personal name. Now I'm going to address all these three etymologies. The Azania, which is said to be Hebrew, the Al-Azania, which is said to be Arabic, and the Azan, which is said to be the oral evidence from the people of in the Horn of Africa. This is another area which has Azania today. You can see Azania there. You can see Somalia. You can see Ethiopia. Okay, there are other crazy places like Wakanda and Uganda. But you can see the general location. You can see here again the map of Azania. It's all on the east coast of Africa. That is without doubt. The second thing that is without doubt is that Azania is a real place that really exists. Again, here's another map. You can see Azania there by the east coast, just below the Aksumite. Now, Aksum, if you know anything about Aksum, this is the empire that was in what we know as Ethiopia/Somalia today. This is zoomed out, Chief Dakile. This is it now. The picture is complete. So where you see Aksumite, just know it's basically Ethiopia/Somalia. Where you see Adulite there at the top, that's Eritrea today. Adulis, that's Eritrea. So you will see Azania just there, and Aromata on the left. And then when you go down, you see Barbaria. And then you see Rapsi and Rapta just below Barbaria. Rapta is also known as a port or a town of Azania. So that whole from Azania to Barbaria, all the way to Rapta, all the way up to Adulis, that coast, over the years, the name Azania has been used in these regions. The most recent times in which the name Azania was used was in Somalia in 2011, where they named a province, they named it Azania. Go and check it. Check Somalia, Azania, Republic of Azania in Jubaland. So when we maybe oppose the name Azania in and of itself, we don't oppose the name of Azania because it's not real. It's a very real name. This is the Gulf of Zula, where the most earliest recording The earliest recording of Azania was recorded in this area, in the Gulf of Zula, in Eritrea. This is an excavation from Eritrea in 500 AD. 500 AD, they excavated these things. This is the town called Adulis. Adulis is where the name Azania was recorded, perhaps in the earliest form. So these are very real places with very real history. So now, there are three etymologies. Three etymologies where people say Azania came from. They say, no, it's Hebrew, etc., etc. Now, let's check the Hebrew one. In Hebrew, if you go to Nehemiah, I think 10, you'll find there's a person there called Azania. Yeah? But then in Hebrew, here's the thing. The Azania that you see, the word called Azania in Hebrew, it's a personal name. It's a name of a person. It's like Sandile or Sipo. It's a very personal name. So it doesn't refer to a nation of people. It simply refers to someone, one person. He was from the tribe of Lewi or Levi. His name was Azani. Now, Azani is a separate word and Ya is a separate word. So the Hebrew word is actually Azan as well. It's Azan, that's the Hebrew word. It means to listen to give ear. So when people say the name Azania comes from Hebrew, Azani, Ya, it means Ya has heard me, or Ya gives me his ears, because the word Azan means ears, which is interestingly similar to ukuzwa or ukuzwana, which is to hear each other with the ears. So Azan is to perceive through the ear, or to give ear to. You know, when elders say, to put your ear to, which means to listen, to hear. So that's the Hebrew Azania. It's a personal name. It's a personal name. Just wanted to clarify that. And then Yah, we obviously know it refers to the Creator in the Bible. That's have Jah, right? This is why they use Jah. Okay. Now, the Arabic version now, Al-Zania. Thank you, brother, making money. The Arabic version, Al-Zania. Now, this is an interesting one. The Arabic version, Al-Zania, is an interesting one because this version is fairly young. Just like I said, the Greeks took the name that was already in existence. So when the Greeks used the name Azania, Azanian Sea, in 1 AD, which is 2,000 years ago, the word Azania was already existing 2,000 years ago. So it's clear the word existed already in the BC era. The word existed in the BC era already. There's no doubt about it. Remember, I'm still dealing with the validity of the word in and of itself, regardless of South Africa or what. Just the pure validity of the word. And I'm saying the word is valid. It's a real word, which refers to real towns that have real history. And there's nothing wrong with that. Al-Zania, which means the land of the Zani. The land of the Zani, or the land of the Zani people, which means the land of the Azanians. That's what Al-Zania means. But Al-Zania itself, it still refers to one of these towns along this coastal line. So any of these places could be Azania. In Eritrea, it could be Azania. In Somalia, it could be Azania. In Ethiopia, there could be Azania. In Tanzania, there could be Azania, which is still there. That's why the name Tanzania. Tanganyika plus Zanzibar. Zanzibar is Zania Bara, which means the island of the Zani people. It could be a name that's used also in Mozambique as well. They could still use the name. Yeah, no. So, it's a very old name because the oldest account of this word is from 1 AD. And the odds of it having begun in 1 AD are very low. So it was earlier than that. The name Azania was earlier than that. And the oldest recording is in Eritrea, in the Sea of Eritrea, which is known as the Red Sea today. So I think we should align with that. Now, what is the etymology in Arabic now? Well, in Arabic, it is a translated form from Zeni, which you can write as Zenj, or Zanj, or Zinj. Go to your Google Translate Put in Arabic, put Z-I-N-J. Go to Google Translate, select Arabic on one side, English on another side, and then there, select, put Z-I-N-J. Z-I-N-J or Z-I-N-J-I. Arabic one side, English another side, and see what it gives you. You see what's on my screen. One side is Arabic, the other side is English. Literally, it said nigger. I laugh because it's funny to me, man. Like they didn't even like warn, because usually they will warn you most when these derogatory words. It literally says nigger. So when the Arabs say Azania or Azania, they're literally saying the land of the niggers. Azania means nigger land. Remember the Greeks in their early writings, they said the Azanians are dark and built well, which is a very similar description to how they describe the people of Negroland. You do know that West Africa was once called Negroland, eh? They called West Africa Negroland. That's why Nigeria is Nigeria, based on the river Niger, which is the river of the niggers. Niger is nigger. That's it. But even better, the name Ethiopia and the name Sudan, both of them are in reference to dark skin. Ethiops, it's Greek for ethi, to burn, ukucha, ops, face, ubuso. Ethiops, abache ubuso, the black ones, the niggers. So even the word Ethiopia itself is colonial. It's interesting how they always say the Ethiopia were never colonized, but the name says otherwise. Nigerians, what kind of a name is Nigeria? Is South Africa, or what kind of the name is South Africa, or is a direction, or hey my friend, my name is Tanta Obiekwe. But the name Nigeria itself is colonial, Baba. So you can change South Africa and put Azania, it still means the exact same nonsense, the land of the niggers. And the Arabs used it in this context. They used it in this very context. I don't even want to mix around with that. They use it in the context of nigger. I used this. I changed it to Dutch now, from Arabic to Dutch. Then the meaning is still constant. Nigger. Zinji or Zinyi, which gives you Alzini or Alzania or Azania. So you will say Azania, Azania, Azania. You can sing for Azania. What you're saying is the land of the niggers, the land of the niggers, the land of the niggers. Soltata ngebazuka. Yakala. Wake up! Niggerland. Negro land. Yakala mans. Yo. So my people, I don't have a problem. You see, in Arabic, there's a name for black, because someone is gonna say, oh no, Zinji means black. No, there is a name for black. But even that name, at some point, it has a derogatory meaning. These people have built cultures, man, over centuries, over millennia, where black is basically substituted with a derogatory meaning. You see, in Arabic, when you use the word aswad, now that word aswad is actually black. But if you go deep, it also ends up meaning nigger. But Azania literally means Negroland, the land of the bloody nigger. Think about the country Niger. Think about the country Nigeria. They will be busy there in the comment section. South Africa, what kind of a name is that? What name be that? What name be that? It's a direction, oh. Change the name. South Africa. Look at your country's name. It literally means the name, the land of the nigger. Or the land of the Niger River. Niger. Niger River. It's nigger. No matter how you call it, you can call it Niger, you can call it Negro. It's still nigger. It means nigger. You can call it whichever way you want, just like the name Ethiopia still means the exact same thing. It's a Greek word, Ethiops, the burnt face niggers. Just like the name Sudan, the name of the blacks, Sudan, land of the blacks. So you have Sudan, you have Ethiopia, you have Nigeria, you have Azania. All are in essence the same thing. They are in essence the same thing, these names. So we have to be very clear. So the Arabs used Azania, which means Negroland. They use it in a very derogative way. Think about it, né? These people were busy selling slaves here, buying slaves. Look at this. Look at this map. Look at this. If you look there on the Horn of Africa, directly on the Horn of Africa, next to Berbers, you have spices, you have cinnamon, and you have slaves. Who do you think those slaves were? And who do you think was selling the slaves? One of the biggest requirements for Islam, people who converted into Islam did not necessarily be sold as slaves, but they took the ones who are not Muslim, they sold them, and then they would castrate them so that they don't recreate. They take them to Saudi Arabia, they take them to Iraq. That today you have Afro-Iraqis. Some of them are slaves, some of them are descendants of the melanated aboriginals of those lands. Today in Somalia, you have got so-called Bantu Somalis. Those people came from Mozambique. The name of Mozambique itself is a deeply colonial name. Musa bin Bikwe. Musa ibn Bikwe, which means Musa the son of Bikwe. Musa the son of Bikwe. It's crazy that from that place of Mozambique, slaves came and went to Somalia. Slaves came and went to Somalia. And today they are still there, being called Jarir. They are called Jarir today. Interesting, because even the Somalis themselves are called Abdi, which means servants, slaves. No, slavery was happening. Even Mansa Musa, yes, he did benefit from slavery himself. But remember, the slavery of Mansa Musa was not based on race. It was more like ethnicity. No, slavery, yeah, Mansa Musa did sell slaves. A lot of royal families in Africa sold slaves. Even here in South Africa, some royal families, let me not say South Africa, let me say Southern Africa, because some of them have independent countries today. They sold bloody slaves to Portuguese there in Delagoa Bay. So this is where now the Azania of the Arabs comes about. It's based on Zani, which the word Zani, it exists in many other languages. It exists in Persian as Zang or Zang. It exists in Persian as Zang or Zang, which is interesting because Mukaranga Wakwame did mention the Persians were here in huge numbers. But the name Zani is not just here in Africa. In fact, in China, there's a word Senqi. Sengqi. Senqi, yes, it's Senqi. This word is recorded as early as 607 AD. The word in China, Senqi, is recorded as early as 607 AD, referring to the same region. But not just China, also other areas in Indonesia. The Javanese word Jengki or Jenki means African people. The Javanese word Jenki, Javanese, not Japanese, Javanese, is Jengi, Jenggi. It means African people, precisely the people of Zanzibar. So, generally in Southeast Asia, they have a name, Zenki or Zenji or Senji or Zanji, referring to the people of Africa, meaning wild creatures, wild beings, black Negroes, Niggerland, the niggers. Hmm? It means the niggers. So now, when the people in the Horn of Africa talk about Azan, this ancient king called Azan, could it be that the name came from that? Because they talk about the king called Azan, and these people were known as Pausanians. It is the Greek philosopher called, or historian called Herodotus. It is the Greek philosopher or historian called Herodotus who speaks about a town called Paus. The town of Paus is said to have been led by this ancient king, not the current one, but an ancient mythological king called Azan. Now, we cannot confirm or deny that one. It's just a story that's there. And this is something from Eritrea. But what we do know is that Azania means slave land, slave country, nigger land. I just wanted to clarify that now. That is the meaning of Azania. It honestly doesn't have anything to do with South Africans. That is the truth, guys. If you want the truth, Azania doesn't have anything to do with South Africans. Doesn't have anything to do. Maybe let me put it this way. It does not have anything to do with South Africa, the country. I'm not saying some cultures in South Africans were not affected by the things that happened along the East Coast, which is known as the coast of Azania. I'm not saying that's the case. But the country of South Africa, the political structure, Azania is nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. There is no rich Pan-African context. There's no rich Pan-African context. It can't be Pan-African, but it refers to people as niggers. Being Pan-African means that it should prioritize. It should prioritize Africa. Something that's Pan-African should prioritize Africa. The name Azania, what's Pan-African about it? The name Azania, what's Pan-African about it? Neo Brutus, Haisa. No, guys, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. This is not, I'm not running a cult here. Neither am I running a crash. I'm not trying to get followers. I'm giving you facts. You can believe it or you don't believe it. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change. It's like me saying today is Thursday. It's Thursday today. It doesn't change because you feel like today is Tuesday. Today remains Thursday. You can continue calling yourself someone from Azania. Nobody's stopping you guys. No, I'm not a politician trying to get votes here. If you want to call yourself someone from Azania, call yourself that. It's fine. Maybe your ancestors are happy about you. If you want to call yourself an Azanian, be an Azanian. Freely so and enjoy it. Trust me, I encourage you to do it. Mara, you must know that Azania means nigger. That's it. You are a nigger. You are from Niggerland. That's what you are. Now, the whole origin of this proposal from the ATM is not necessarily malicious. I don't think the intention is malicious. The reason why these guys proposed a name change, I don't think the intention is malicious at all. I think it comes from a good place. But remember, these people are politicians. They are not historians. And we are not going to be told by politicians what to call ourselves. We will not be told by politicians what we call ourselves. We call ourselves what uplifts us. We call ourselves what has historical basis. So I am not Azanian. I have nothing to do with Azania. The Azania that comes from Hebrew, I already mentioned that it's a name. It's a personal name of a guy who's a Levite. Remember, some people say Azania comes from Hebrew. That's a name. It's a personal name. It's not a name of a region. The Azania that comes from Hebrew is not a name of a region. It's a name of a person. And it's one person, not two, not three. And there's no evidence that this person was a trader in Africa. I'm going to try and find this screenshot. I lost it now. So this is the Hebrew version, Azania. But in Hebrew, the Z is Tsi. So it's Azania. It's Azania. It's Azania. Azan means ear. Yah is the name for the creator. So it means heard by Yah. Heard by Yah. It doesn't have much. Remember now the context. The context of the name Azania is that slaves were being traded on the coast. Slaves were being traded on the coast. Hence, it's called Niggerland. Just like slaves were being traded in the east. Here you go. So Zani in Arabic, it's Alzania in Arabic is the name of is the land of the blacks. Sometimes it's Zang, sometimes it's Zanj. In China, it's Sengchi, as early as 607 AD. In Indonesia, they have Jengchi. Basically, it's a derogatory word. That's it. People can try then to make themselves feel better about it. That's fine. I don't mind. But the word itself has nothing to do with African people, or at least there's nothing to do with us, in essence. Now, that is not to say the history of the east coast of Africa should not be studied and unearthed. Also, that is not to say that history does not affect South Africans or Southern Africans. It does, because the east coast of Africa is all the way to Mozambique. Mozambique is in Southern Africa. Some people in Mozambique are in South Africa. Some people in South Africa are related to people in Mozambique. So the history, we are affected by that history. But Azania has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. That name is not our name. That's why the countries along that coast, the country was called Tanganyika. It was called Tanganyika. They went and added Zanzibar. But even Zanzibar, if you look there, Zanzibari is the island of the Zanzi people. Zanzi, Senji, Zani, all derogatory. Senji means wild savages. So it's fine. You can say from Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar. Azania is well. At that time, you are lying, Baba. You look like that man from the Ghost Must Be Crazy. Azania has nothing to do with you. Azania, 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 Azania. Hey, they even cry. They're singing for Azania. Yeah. My people. I like my people, man. I like my people are so cool, man. You know, we make even the worst things to sound nice. It's like how the black Americans took the word nigger and then they changed the meaning from meaning, obviously the derogatory meaning that it has. Now nigger just means man, a dude. I'm a nigger, man, which means I'm a dude. But now the etymology of nigger actually is not derogatory. It just means dark. The real etymology. But we cannot detach the socio-political history, the undertones of supremacy that are attached to the word. But the word itself, in its purest sense, it comes from the root word neg or nag, which manifests in Afrikaans as nag for night. If you look at the English word night, it's nigget. Nigget. It has that nig root there. So nigger means dark, just like the night is dark. But then there's a socio-political and supremacist undertone to it. And that cannot be ignored. Same as Azania. That one. And the crazy thing that the Arabs did so much damage. They did so much damage in Africa. They took millions of slaves, but they did not allow those slaves to reproduce. They did not allow those slaves to reproduce, so they castrated them, made them into eunuchs. They did so much damage because they knew, hey, we can't allow these people to reproduce. We can't allow these people to reproduce. No, we can't. So they will take the slaves to Iran, to Iraq, to Saudi Arabia. But now the slaves die, so they need more slaves. So by not allowing the slaves to reproduce, they ended up needing more slaves. Brother Tando says the PAC adopted the name in Ethiopia when they were in exile, but I doubt they got this explanation. No, but the name Azania is not a name that the Ethiopians did not invent the name. That's the thing, you see. The Ethiopians themselves are called Ethiopians, and it's not even in their language. That's another thing. In fact, the Ethiopians, the Amaras, sold the Oromos. The ancestors of Haile Selassie were busy selling slaves. The Ethiopian slaves that came to South Africa in the Eastern Cape, the likes of Pisho Jarsa, were from Ethiopia. They were being sold as slaves. I understand, the whole deification of Haile Selassie and that whole movement that was obviously promoted by the likes of Marcus Garvey and who's this guy, the musician guy, Bob Marley. The deification of Ras, Tafari, the guy called Haile Selassie, his name is his other title, Ras Tafari. I understand, they're identifying with him as a unifying force, but the truth is that his people were selling slaves there in Ethiopia. They were selling Oromos. To this day, they are still being called derogatory words, the indigenous people there, by those same Ethiopians, who themselves are being called by a colonial name called Ethiopians themselves. We just like to romanticize history. We love it. We romanticize history so much that we delude ourselves into thinking that things are when they are not. And I'm not taking away from the true parts. Haile Selassie did a lot of good things as well. In fact, Haile Selassie at some point said he is the emperor of all Negroes. He said it. I saw it some few days ago. He said he was the emperor of all Negroes in the world, the emperor. I get that whole movement, the time. It was the zeitgeist of that moment. The whole movement of black unity, blah, blah, blah. But within those movements, there's so much nuance that we cannot get rid of. We cannot get rid of that, you see. So that the name Azania is not, the definition of that name is very clear. So there's an oral history in Eritrea which will probably be shared amongst the Aksumites, which means the Ethiopians and the Somalis, that there was a king called Azan, which is where the name Azania comes from. But the earliest records of the name are clearly Greek, which is 1 AD. But the Greeks, I know for a fact, I don't have a doubt, they took that name from the local people. But the name itself always meant Niggerland, Azan, the Zanji. In fact, in even some Bantu languages, they have a similar name, Senji. The Basenji people, or the Senji. There's even a dog called the Basenji dog, the dog of the savages. Senji itself, which is in reference to a word, Abasendle, the wild living ones. Endle, this Abasendle, the wild living ones. So Senzi, Abasendle, the wild savages. Think about Zenji and Zanji, which give you Zanzibar, and Zania, Alzania. And I'm not saying the politics of the PAC are wrong. I'm not saying the politics of Azapo are wrong. I'm not saying the politics of EFF are wrong. This is not about that. We need to be able to separate those things. It's not about that. So now, should the country be renamed to Azania? I think that's dumb. I'm just going to be honest. It's dumb. There's no real history. If maybe South Africa was in those regions that were actually Azania, I would understand that, which would still be a slave name. But at this point, we don't even have anything related to Azania. Like, why are we naming ourselves with a foreign name to begin with? We have so many languages. We have so many languages, man, to choose from. So now someone is asking, what about the name Mzansi? No, Mzansi is a translation of South. It's a closer translation of Umzansi, a South. This is the work of the Mandelas and the Mbegis and all that. Mzansi means South. That's it. Mzansi Africa, South. It's a translation. Now here's another thing, né? When we talk about names. Oh, by the way, South Africa is named based on what the white people named the country. So the white people, when they united, they had a union of South Africa in 1910. Until then the country is still based on that union. And it's not Mzansi, it's Mzansi. So the spelling, people always get it wrong. It's MZANTSI in isiXhosa. MZANTSI, Mzansi, not Mzansi. That's another thing. I see a lot of white people calling South Africa Muzanzi. Yeah, man. White people can say Kuka Makranka perfectly, but they can't say Mzansi. They can't say Mkwanazi. They're busy there. Makwanazi, Mapumalanga. Yay. Yay.
Greetings,
So
host.
Mzansi. Yeah.
The
Mzansi.
spelling that you mentioned. NZA what?
It's written there in the comments. That's the proper spelling. Now, Mzansi means at the bottom or at the top, at the in the southerly, because we use cardinal points as well. So Emantla is at the top, Emazansi is at the south. You see, so that's Mzansi south. But now, how is South Africa called Mzansi? Why is it called Mzansi? It's because of the union of the English and the Boer in 1910. They came together. They formed a union which became the predecessor of the Republic of South Africa today. So today we are a republic. We have the constitution, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. We are the Republic of South Africa, which is why we have Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek, ZA, or Zuid-Afrikaanse Republiek. They used an old spelling from Dutch, ZAR. But the South Africa itself is just a descendant of the union of the Boer states and the English colony. So for those of us who were born who are from the colony, if they had not united, we would still be in the colony. And those who were in the previous republic, they would still be in the republic. I will post this on YouTube, Sandile Tukan. So now, what would we call South Africa? Before I give the panelists, is there an old name of this country? Again, I'm not the king to decide what South Africa is called. It's not my job to tell people what to call the country. You see? It's not my job to tell people what to call the country. They can call it Mzansi. They can call it Ningizimu, or whichever resonates with them. But what I can say, many place names have older names. And this is what I try by all means in all my videos to awaken. On all my videos, I try to revive these names. So the stickers, ZA is Zuid-Afrikaanse. Zuid-Afrikaanse, which means South African. Z in Dutch is Zuid-Afrikaanse, which means South African. So that's the ZA. Ningizimu is used to mean south, but it means many giants or many gods or many monsters, depending on the person you ask. So in the coat of arms, we have E. Before I come to the older names of places, I'm going to explain Orania quickly. Orania, it should be completely destroyed. Actually, they should remove those people there. They should remove those people there and give people their land, because Orania is stolen land. Their families were still crying. They want their lands in Orania. They should remove those invaders in Orania and give people their land. Anyway, the name Orania is actually you can see it in the name Oranje Rivier as well, Orange River. You can see it in the name Oranje Vrystaat, Orange Free State. In fact, you can see it in the national colors of the Netherlands, orange. If you follow soccer, you know the Netherlands always use orange in everything. So that's where Orania actually come from. In fact, in Cape Town, there's a suburb called Oranjezegt. Oranjezegt, which means the site of Oranje. What is Oranje in Cape Town? It's one of the I agree the castle of Good Hope in Cape Town has 5 it looks like a star basically. It's got these edges. So all those edges have got names. And all those names are the praises of the Dutch king of the 1600s, Prince Willem. So all his 5 names are used to name the edges of the castle in Cape Town. So one of those edges is clearly visible from this suburb called Oranjezegt. This is why it's called Oranjezegt. You can see it. Zegt means view, sight. Anyway, why are these places have Oranje in everything? Orange River, Orange Free State, Orania. Why is the orange in everything? It's because in the Netherlands, the house that's ruling there is called the Huis van Oranje Nassau, or Huis van Oranje, the House of Oranje. This is like saying kwaZulu, inkosi yakwakhangela amankengane. Inkosi yakwakhangela or umntwana wakakhangela. Kwakhangela Oranje in the Dutch version. So there was a prince when the Afrikaners, when the Dutch came here, there was a prince, the heir of the throne. He was called Willem the Silent. Willem the Silent. He was the prince of Oranje. Umntwana wakwa Oranje, basically. Oranje, what is it? It's a province or a principality in China. That's what Oranje, not in China, in France. That's what Oranje is. It's a principality in France. So the prince of the Netherlands in those years used to be the prince of Oranje, basically. It's like the current king of the English. He was called Prince of Wales. The previous husband of Queen Elizabeth was called Prince of Edinburgh. You see? So yes, this is why they use Oranje in everything. They're honoring their royal family. They're honoring their royal family. Now we can look at the etymology of Oranje now, as my brother Limakara has alluded to, the etymology of Oranje. There's an old history when it comes to these things, very old history. It goes back to the time of the Holy Roman Empire. There was a city called the city of Oranje or the county of Oranje, but today it's in southeastern France, that region. It's in southern France. So it's a European imposition. Do you understand then why we say names must be changed into indigenous names? They're like, oh no, it's just a name, man. It's just a name. Don't worry, okay? It's just Port Elizabeth. No. It's witchcraft. That's what it is. It is witchcraft because you are imposing your gods upon me. You're imposing your gods upon me. Go with your gods. I don't want Port Elizabeth. I don't want Port Alfred. I don't know no Prince Alfred here. I don't want Port Shepstone. Shepstone was, he was involved in the destruction of this country. Shepstone. Why do we still have Port Shepstone in this country? Why do we have Port St. John's in this country? Those places have indigenous names. Those places, Port St. John's has indigenous names. Port Shepstone, indigenous names. Port Alfred, indigenous names. Port Elizabeth, Abecha, we changed it. Moorman. So a lot of these towns in South Africa, they've already had indigenous names. East London, it's Gompo. That's the name. Gompo, that's the name of East London. King Williamstown, oh no. That's the name of King Williamstown. Alice, Idike, or Keleke Kushe. That's the name. Not some princess from England called Alice. Why is my hometown going to be named by a princess of England called Alice? But we know there's an old name for this place called Keleke Kushe. And we must use this name so that they don't know how to pronounce them. Those who seek to scatter us. So you can use Azania. You will be a country of Azania, Orania. Even the structure of the name Azania is foreign. But South Africa has so many towns that had original names. For example, Cape Town. You know what a cape is? A cape is a promontory. It's a projection of land. It's a tongue of land that is projected into a water body. Intlonto, that's what it is in isiXhosa. A cape is called intlonto. It's a promontory. When land projects itself, like a piece of land that projects. If you look at the structure of Cape Town, you can see what I'm talking about. You have the country South Africa, then Cape Town is projecting itself. We've got capes all along South Africa, both west and east. There are capes everywhere because we have the sea. Wherever there's the sea or many rivers or lakes, you tend to have capes. So that's what Cape Town means. It was named by these people, Cabo to Esperanza. They called it the Cape of Storms because they are, it's a protruding landform. Yes, Port Alfred is Kawa or Koi, which both the name Kawa and Koi mean the same thing, by the way. They are synonyms. They mean the same thing. They're referring to a smoking pipe. Awa, in Awa. That's the shape of the river. I have a map of Port Alfred from 1820 before they built the ports there. It literally looked like a smoking pipe, especially when it's overflowing. Back to Cape Town. It was called the Cape of Storms because the Portuguese ships used to wreck so much. They used to wreck so much on the coast. In fact, if you look at Table Mountain, anyone who knows Cape Town, if you look at Table Mountain, in isiSotho it's Hlwahlwa. In isiXhosa it's Intlonto. Exactly, that's a cape. That's a cape. If you look at Table Mountain, there's another mountain next to the peak called Devil's Peak. I just don't have the picture now. There's another group of mountains. We call them Constantia Berg and the Berg Table. When you look at those mountains from the Cape Flat side, you will think it's a giant that's sleeping. That's why there's a town called Menenberg. Menenberg, the Menenberg, the man in the mountain. It looks like a giant in the mountain that's sleeping. So the Greeks, the Portuguese used to say it's a giant that was sent to Cape Town, blah, blah, blah. But Babakredo Mutwa talks about this as the guardian of the Cape, the guardian of the south, of Iningism. Anyway, the name of Table Mountain, they've shortened that name to Huri Kwacha. But the name is Kareb Huri Kama Kwacha. Kareb is Umkolomba, a mountain. Huri Kama is the sea. Kwacha is to come out from. So when you are in the Table Bay side, like Blouberg and Milnerton, when you look at Table Mountain, it seems like it comes out of the water. That's why it was called Huri Kwacho or Kareb Huri Kama Kwacho. That's the name. Table Mountain is not the name of that mountain. I've never gone to the Netherlands to name a mountain there. Cape Town is not Cape Town, it's Trikaba, which means the gathering clouds. It's in reference to the tablecloth. If anyone knows anything about Cape Town, the clouds gather there like a cloth. You have a place called Humansdorp in Eastern Cape. Fortunately, the Xhosa people keep these names. We know it's Ngquga. We know it's Ngquga. And then Port Elizabeth, it's Gqeberha. It's been changed to Gqeberha. Beautiful name. There's a place called Kimberley. You know, we have a name for that place. Us. In Kwemana. And these names are not universal. You can use any other name in your language. It's not a problem. You can use any other name in your language. The Maluti on the side of KZN is Ukhahlamba. Ukhahlamba is when you put sharp objects together, like spears. You see, when you take spears, you put them together. They've got these really sharp picks. Really sharp picks. That heap of sharp objects, heap of swords, heap of spears, is called Ukhahlamba. But Maluti itself, it means Ulundi. That's what the name is in Nguni. Ulundi, Maluti. Luti is basically like a barrier with sharp peaks as well. And then you have Pretoria Tshwane. And then there's another name, Tshwane. You see? An old name. And then you have Uppington. It has an old name. Yes, Ulundi is a mountain range. Peaks of mountains that are together. Peaks of mountains. And then we have Uppington. We have Khamaba. Kum is the olive tree, the wild olive, Umnquma. Khamaba means the wood of the olive tree, or the low-lying area with the wood of the olive tree. Izibuko leminquma. Khamaba. That's the name of Uppington in indigenous South African languages. The British called it olive drift. The olive drift. The Dutch called it olive and woods drift. It's Khamaba. Emnqumeni, basically. So I'm just naming all these places. Kimberley, Uppington. People assume we don't have names for these places. Guys, there was never no empty South Africa here. South Africa was not empty. It was not empty. There's an old name of South Africa. At least 2 old names that I know that were referring to South Africa. At least 2 old names. Ngaremab, which means Engeleni. Ngare means cold. It means frost. Ngaremab, it means the country that gets frost. I mean, you should have seen the snow in Lesotho and Eastern Cape. You'd have seen the snow in Lesotho and Eastern Cape. So we call that Ingele. Hence, the old name of South Africa was called Ngaremab. Mab is in reference to a land. Ngaremab. Engeleni, the place of frost and cold. The place of frost and cold. Another name that I've come across from the older languages is Ngakaqhu Chaba. Ngakaqhu Chaba. You see? Which means the wealthy direction in the south. The wealthy place in the south. So all I'm saying, and I'm not one to force people to use names they don't want to use. But I'm not going to be forced to use slave names. Same thing with the provinces. Why do we still have KwaZulu Natal? What is Natal? Why do we still have Eastern Cape? Why do we still have Western Cape, Northern Cape? What nonsense are these provinces? Just call Eastern Cape whatever name you're thinking of. Ebunguni, it's fine. Call KZN Embo, Ebunguni, KwaZulu. It doesn't matter. We have names. I like Limpopo. It's a proper indigenous name. It may not be Venda, but it's Ndebele. Mpumalanga is a good name. Well, they butcher it. They say Mapumalanga. But they don't butcher KwaZulu Natal. But because it has Natal in it. They say Mapumalanga. We still have places like Free State, man. What the hell? Colonial places like Vrystaat. Nah, Eastern Cape can't be Ebai. Eastern Cape can't be Ebai. Ebai is an Afrikaans word. Ebai is an Afrikaans word. Remember now, The name Bai comes from Algoa Bay. It's the Algoa Bay. That's where the name Bai comes from. It's an Afrikaans version of Bay, a Bai. So it's not indigenous at all. Now I do understand the difficulty in naming provinces because the borders of the provinces are not our borders. They're not created by us. They're not created by us. The name Ibai for Port Elizabeth, that name is Algoa Bay. It was a province that was created by Europeans. They arrested Xhosa kings there in Algoa Bay before they sent them to Robben Island. So ayikho into ekuthiwa Ibai. Ibai does not exist. It's like that other dress that Xhosa people wear called Ibai. It comes from the color of the cotton that the Europeans used to sell. The color was bay. Bay is a brown color. Like horses, they are bay. In Afrikaans, it's Bai, or in Dutch. So these names like Bai and all that, these are colonial names. Bai. Both Bai is Indau, Ibai, and Bai is the brown thing that used to be worn, the cotton blanket. Both of those names are colonial, nje, all together. No, even the Bantustan names, a lot of them were colonial. For example, in Eastern Cape, we had Ciskei and we had Transkei. You see, those are colonial names. Kai is an indigenous name. It means big. It's Kainib. Kainib. Ingiba enkulu. We have Ingiba and Ingiban. It's a river, big river. Kainib. But Transkei now, trans is a European word which means ngapesheya, pesheya, kwenxiba, ganeno, kwenxiba. So it means on this side of the Nxiba River and on that side of the Nxiba River. Colonial, trans and cis. We don't have those things, Tim. Someone asked me about the name Keimus. Keimus. It's a town in the northern bank of the Orange River. Orange River itself being the real name of the Orange River is Ngu Garib. Ngu Garib means black river. Ngu means black. Indo engu ensu. Garib means igili, a river. Ngu or Ngu Garib is black river. It's Black River. So that's the name of the Orange River. Just not in the northern bank of the Orange River. There's a town there. There's a town called Keimus. What is the name of this town? Well, the name of the town means a big eye. Big eye or big spring or fountain. That's what it means. K means big. Remember, I just mentioned K in Eastern Cape. K Nib. Ingiba enkulu. So Keimus. Mus means eye. Mu actually means to see. In Kwe. Mu means to see. So when you say Keimus, you're saying big eye or the big spring or a fountain. Fountain. It's like an eye in the soil. It's an eye in the soil. So that's what it refers to. Now I'm gonna check other questions. What did we call it before it was Transkei? That's the problem, ne? I wanna get to this thing of renaming. When we rename, now we are renaming something that was created by whites all together. The idea that Transkei was always some administrative area that is different from Ciskei is already colonial in and of itself. The idea that there was this piece of land called KwaZulu-Natal that was different from Eastern Cape is a problem. You see that it's a problem when you see people in KZN who speak isiZulu and people in Eastern Cape who speak isiZulu. You see people in KZN who speak isiXhosa and people in Eastern Cape who speak isiXhosa. So you realize that this is not real. It's actually not real. There are people in Eastern Cape right now as we speak known as Amacele. Abantu bakwacele, they are there in Eastern Cape. They are from Eastern Cape, those people. You find them in Mampondwe. Amacele, they're there. I actually have a friend whose mother is from the group of Amacele. But Ocele, you would be made to believe that they come from KZN. You have places like Kokstad where people speak isiZulu and isiXhosa and isiMpondo. So what I'm saying is, when you ask what did we call these places before white people, these places before white people did not exist. There was no Eastern Cape before white people arrived. There were many different towns with their independent names, but Eastern Cape, in the actual borders that it's in right now, it never existed. Just like South Africa never existed. So you can't name something that's not there. What language do they speak in Matatiele? They speak many different languages. They speak isiXhosa, they speak Siphuti, they speak isiHlubi, they speak isiBhaca, they speak Sesotho, and probably some other dialects. You see, so Matatiele is a boiling pot of cultures. I know because I also have people that I'm related to that are there. Those people speak Siphuti, bakhuluma Siphuti, babua Sotho, but it is Xhosa. I'm gonna give Brother Lee and Sonini before we cross over to the next part of the live, because yesterday I had mentioned this whole nonsense of Bantu migration, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to conclude that topic today. And talk about this nonsense of First Nation. First Nation is a bogus crime. It's a bogus nonsense. It's a myth, actually. The whole thing of First Nation is a myth that is being propagated for people to claim things above others. There's a group of people who think they have some right of primacy above others, think that they were here before others. There's no such nonsense, and we'll get into it. We spoke about Bantu migration, and now today I'm going to close it. But I'm going to give Brother Lee, and then after Brother Lee, I'm going to give Sonini. I'm going to switch off my mic so that I don't make noise. Thank you.
Madume to everyone. I mean, thank you very much, Mkhulu, for such powerful submissions. There's nothing else for me to say, because it is the plea that we've been saying that whenever we look at our land, we should always look at the names that we call the places, because there is a big misnomer and a big injustice that is happening where Europeans have named our places, and now these places, they are found in certain books like the Bible. Now we've got a whole lot of people being confused, thinking that these places in South Africa, to use a lack of a better word, like Jerusalem, and people believe this to be the real Jerusalem, and now it gets people to even thinking that people are Hebrew Israelite. You see, so when we are able to actually get into the names as they are, then we are able to dispel and unhook a lot of phonics. That is the major objective that we will be meeting when it comes to this knowledge. And I would like to thank you for that. Right now, you've just opened up Pandora's box, because I'm sure a lot of people have been seeing these names: Azania, Moriah, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Bethel, right here in our land. And these are the things that make people get confused. But now that you have actually shown that even such names like Capernaum is not the name of the land, and it's not the name that we called it, it's a name that is colonial, then it makes people to think even further when it comes to seeing themselves in a certain book. I would like to pause it right there, but thank you very much for opening up this Pandora's box. If we had a name for Pandora's box, it's a Greek name, but
Thank you, brother.
yeah, injalo, okay.
Thank you, brother. That's interesting. No, Cape Town doesn't have anything to do with Capernaum. In fact, people must learn Hebrew, ne? The people who talk about these things, they must go and learn Hebrew. They will see for themselves. Cape Town, it means Cabo. Cabo is a cape in Tlontlho or Muhlwahlwa. You understand? It's a projection, a protruding piece of land. That's a cape. For us, we never called it that. We called it Qichaba. Now, Capernaum is not the same thing as Cape. Capernaum is two words, Kabar and Nahum. Kabar means to hide. It means to conceal. Nahum means to rest or to breathe. You understand? It's a Hebrew word. Capernaum, the hidden resting place, probably. It's a place it's a name of a place. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with Cape Town. Same thing as the town of Bethlehem in Free State. It was named by Afrikaners. Remember the origins of apartheid were based on a fundamental Calvinist agenda. They had a fundamental Calvinist agenda which was propagated by the Broederbond secret society. So the secret society called the Broederbond were pushing a religious socio-political agenda based on this fundamentalist Calvinism, which says that they are the chosen people. That's what the Afrikaners were saying. That's why the people of the AWB, such as Eugene Ter Blanche, would always say South Africa is the fatherland, because they believe this is they're destined to be here. In fact, they've now narratives that they're actually the indigenous people of South Africa. So maybe then when they came with the ships, they were coming back from their exile, from the Pharaoh, who was the Roman Church. So a lot of names then that you will find will be names that you will find in the Bible. But the names that you find in the Bible themselves are not the proper names. They are transliterated names, like Capernaum, Bethlehem. A lot of those names are not in the proper spelling and pronunciation, like those languages that were used those years. So Bethlehem is two words, Bet Lachem. Bet Lachem. Bet means a house or walls, like Libota, Amabond, a house. Lachem is intlama, or bread, as in made from intlama. So it's Bet Lachem, the house of bread, literally meaning an area that is good land, an area that is good land to farm. Now, if you know anything about Pretoria, these people, Free State, these people have many farms in Free State. They make a lot of money with farming. It's fertile for them, and therefore they named it Bethlehem. Many other areas that have these kind of names, like Murija in Lesotho. There's even a museum actually called Murija Museum. It's not Moria. There's another Moria there in what is this now? In Limpopo, I think. These places are named now. These names are very recent. It's very recent names. In Eastern Cape, we have a place called Berlin and a place called Stutterheim. Are you gonna tell me then that South Africa is Germany because there's a place called Berlin? Are you gonna say South Africa is Germany now? We have a place called Aberdeen in Eastern Cape. Are you gonna say South Africa is Great Britain? We've got a place called Delft in Cape Town and Leiden. Are you gonna say South Africa is the Netherlands now because Delft and Leiden are areas in the Netherlands? So we can't be using these arguments, these fallacious arguments. So nini melanini.
Greetings for having me on the panel. I'm working right now, but I still I still giving my submission. First of all, I like to say yeah, I'm learning a lot from you so far, and I love how you kind of touch on the points and show the linguistic connection and the evidence. Because one thing I've been saying a couple of times, well, if you make these debates and dialogues and reason about the language, we'll kill a lot of the fallacies and the misinformation that is out there, especially when it comes to our ancestral knowledge, our information. So it's a privilege to be on your panel to learn, what I'm saying. And with one thing, I was thinking that if by chance you have any African etymology dictionary or something like that, it will be an honor to have something like that, because I'm only able to decipher these some of these words back to, to a particular point of origin. But then when we go into the African languages, and by extension the Bantu languages, you're going into a whole different realms of etymology and stuff, And for me, yeah, I'd love to have some kind of links or source to that, where I can be able to learn much quickly and be able to understand a lot
Yeah.
of these words, because sometimes when I do find these words, bro, I still have to come back to you guys, whether it's Lee or Zama, or I'm saying anybody from on the ground. Once they know the intel, I tend to go and ask them for the oral information on that. But any times when you guys are not available, I feel at a disadvantage, you know what I'm saying? So if you have any books and sources where I can get more deep into the African linguistics etymology, that will be highly appreciated. And I need to connect with you privately as well, because I've been requested to connect with you,
Okay.
to have you teach me on the language. So that is one thing I'm definitely down for it. Okay.
Okay. No
But
problem.
thanks so much.
No.
Bye bye. Thanks so much, brother.
Okay. Thank you. No, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you joining. Yeah, I do have a lot of resources in terms of etymology of languages like isiXhosa, isiZulu, isiSwati, isiSotho, perhaps isiNdebele from Zimbabwe. Yeah, so when it comes to the Nguni languages, you'll be sorted like properly at an elite level, and Sesotho as well at an elite level. And I think with those two groups of languages, you'll be easy. It's going to be very easier to grasp any other language like Chivenda and all the different Luvenda dialects, and Shitsonga and all the Shitsonga dialects. So I will just hit me up privately, and I'll go look at my message requests, and yeah, we will absolutely talk. Thank you. Mukaranga, mwana mwane, minjani?
Greetings, brother. Greetings to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I also wanted to expand on the issue of borders, right? And I might also cover a very controversial issue, the issue of foreigners or foreign people in South Africa. But I'm not going to mention Nigerians, mainly the people in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. So when we look at the picture that you have presented, these are more ancient names for regions that we had. You may call them kingdoms, empires. Yeah. When you look at number one, it may have different names. It's that region of Zimbabwe and Botswana, current day Botswana. I believe the name Kalahari is more correct. Kalahari meaning the dry land. And a brother of mine shared the meaning in Xitsonga. Kalahari meaning the place where there's a lack of animals. Kukala is a lack of, and hari meaning animals, swihari. Then when you move on to the second one, number two, that would be Bukalanga. It also has its own meaning, a place where we dwell on top of rocks. Then the third one being Kwening. Then as you move further to the Northern Cape and Northwest regions, you have Kaditswin or Lihurutsi, the land of Bahurutsi. That's where most people came from.
Yeah.
Then the fourth one being Bukoni, number 5 being Embo, number 6 being Woronga, 7 is in Nhlengweni in Mozambique, or the region called Gaza today. Some people are saying that Gaza came from the Arabs, but we never used the Gaza up until Usoshangani came, and he named it the Gaza Empire, or the land of Gaza, after his own grandfather. But originally, the place was called Nhlengweni, and it's named after Bahlengwe. Bahlengwe are the rich people, so it's the land of the rich people. That's what the Batwa called the land, and I believe it's very much connected to the Barwa or Barui name, people who have cattle or people who have riches. Then 8
Yeah.
is Bubvesha, the west. Then 6, that region is Buronga. Now, when you look at Buronga, it covers northern KZN, Eswatini, some parts of Mozambique, up until the Kruger National Park region. And even if you look at the Chivenda, you'll find Chironga as a dialect, the same Chironga that we speak as Batsonga. Now, that Buronga region, I think it's very much important that we talk about it, because a lot of Mozambicans are said to be coming into South Africa. But I would like to say that as much as we are our own country today and Mozambicans are in their own country, the people on the other side of the colonial border are the same people that you find in Eswatini, Northern KZN, and Limpopo. It's their region, that is Buronga. When Mozambicans cross the Libombo or Ribombo, they're not going into an unfamiliar region. They have their own relatives there, their own people in Buronga. Libombo is their land. So colonial borders have had a huge effect on us. They've cut kingdoms in half. They've cut empires. I wouldn't call them empire, but yeah, they've cut and separated relatives, people who are related to each other, to the extent that even some Bavenda are saying that, no, you Tsongas are invaders here. You don't have land in South Africa, which is not the truth, because they are even speaking the same language that we are speaking, Chironga or Chironga. So if it were up to me, the names that we should be using for the provinces are these ones. Mpumalanga, I think it's the most correct one, because it's a translation of Buronga or Buroka. Buronga meaning the place of the east or the place of the sun. So Mpumalanga, it's more correct. But the rest, even Limpopo, but the rest, we should be ditching them, because they erase a lot. Maybe even if we were to name the whole of South Africa as Embo, I wouldn't have a problem, because we were mining this side. We had miners. We had people with a rich mining culture, to the extent that some of them we even buried using gold. We put gold in your mouth, and it will assist you in the afterlife, right?
Yes. It's the blood of the gods.
Yes. So yeah, that's something that we should consider if we were to rename the provinces. The borders, they're already there. The provinces are demarcated in that way. But if it were up to me, I don't know, it would be dividing people. Natal doesn't necessarily belong to a specific group of people named the Abengu. No, it belongs to even Amatonga, right? So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I will end it there.
Thank you, man.
My apologies for interjecting. My apologies, so I'm working. So if I interject on you, it's not to be disrespectful to your life. Me and Brother Lee, my brother, we talk a lot on the WhatsApp, and I've been doing some research and insight into who is referred to as the Hottentots. But coming from Baba Credo, Baba Credo described the Hottentots as who is called a Lao. Now, when I went on that hunt, to try and separate these Lao from who as Khoisan and etc. I'm finding sources that these specific Lao, they are of Tibetan origin, and according to the orals that Baba gave, when the Bantus had teamed up with the Lao to fight the strange ones, at some point in time, the strange ones or the Lao, they sold out the Bantu, and that's where we went into over 1900 years of slavery. The first time was 1,000 years, the second time was with the Arabs, and the third time was with Tagama, when Tagama pulled up in the south after they had already taken over the two central kingdoms in when we talk about the central parts of Congo and Burkina Faso, what we want to call Benin. But I want to know if you could edify me on this Lahu stuff, because my intuition and my research keeps showing me that these Lahu or Hottentots that Baba Credo is talking about, that they are not Bantu. Now, when I go into the public domain, right, these Tibetans, they call themselves Bantu, but as my brother Lee pointed out to me, that they are not. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are not, you know. So if they are not Bantu, I'm just wondering if they are not Bantu, but they claiming they are. I was telling Lee then, you know, they say that they are for a reason. And they said that
Mm-hmm.
they are saying that they are Bantu to hide themselves within the Lahu or Khoisan. You know what I'm saying? Hence the reason why today you guys are getting a lot of attacks and being called out of being non-Bantu. Now, when I'm looking at it from that peripheral perspective, I'm seeing
Yeah.
that that could very well be the cause. So I would love for you to maybe help me separate this Lawu that Baba is
Yeah.
speaking about from what we know as the Khoi Sans and the Sans and whatever, because I don't have much knowledge when it comes to that, but I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of corruption when it surrounds that. Hence, you guys have been attacked unjustly. Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm defending my ancestral record, which is Mama Africa. So anybody in trouble, I will defend them. You know, so
Tamako.
I don't know if you could touch on that and bring some light, my brother. But thank you so much for being to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No, no, no. I was anyway gonna move to that part now of my life, which is the conclusion of the indigenous people of South Africa. But I want to touch on Credo Mutwa. Mutwa actually means bushman. It means a bushman. That's what the name Mutwa means. So that's an interesting submission. The Mutwa people are also known as Ngele. They're also known as Stubu. Stubu kasosiwa mfazi nendoda ngoba sincinci sinela bona kuphela. They are known as Guamande people. So they were very good with herbs, the Mutwa peoples. Very, very good with herbs, which is in congruency with their origin as the people of, Abatwa. But I'm going to touch on that, don't worry. I just want to maybe refer back to what the brother Karanga Wagwambe was saying about, these borders. It is true, man. And also, it's important that we are in charge of references, geographical, names and titles. It's important. It's very important because our children and their children and their children cannot be confused by their own country. We must reclaim. So that's why I was saying, when you rename a place, you don't rename a European made thing. Like you can't say you're renaming Eastern Cape, because then Eastern Cape, what is it? You understand? So you must go back to, okay, what did we use as boundaries? Oh, we used rivers. Okay. So this region from this river is this name indigenously. And this region from this river to that river, or from this mountain to that mountain, is this name. And then now we see, so we have these two regions that make up what is called the Eastern Cape. Okay, then what name can we get agreement on? What name can we get agreement on? We can call the Eastern Cape Ebunguni, which is generally what most of the indigenous people used. All right, we can agree with that. We go to KZN, we agree. And I like what Brother Mukaranga also said, that we can call South Africa all together Embo, which is very good for me because it's in reference to mining, goldsmithing, blacksmithing, iron smelting culture. Understand? It's very important. What were these provinces called? There were no provinces, so they were not called anything. The provinces that we have right now, the 9 provinces, were never there to begin with. They're not real. These are provinces that were created in 1910 when the Boer republics, which were also not real, and the English colony, the Cape Colony, which is Eastern Cape, Western Cape, and Northern Cape, the 3 Capes, that's what makes up the Cape Colony. These 3 areas united with the rest of the country, they became South Africa. And therefore, there were 9 provinces, but they are not real. We don't know what these provinces are. We don't know what Gauteng is. Gauteng is not a real South African indigenous name. It comes from the word gold, or gold, or goud for gold. They called it Gauteng based on the gold deposits that they found in the Witwatersrand. Witwatersrand, which is a rand. What is a rand? Liqolo or Ulundi. It's a long strip of land that is also protruding. So Gauteng is named on the gold they found on the Witwatersrand. That's why our currency is the rand. It's literally a piece of land, an elevated piece of land. Iqolo. I would call it that. It's a ridge. That's what a rand is. It's a ridge in all. So our currency being called a rand is based on that, because that's where they found majority of the gold deposits in the Witwatersrand, upon which Johannesburg is built. Johannesburg itself being named after someone. Burg means town. It's different from Berg, which means mountain. So Burg means town. It's an old European Germanic word, which means a walled city, a fortress. You find it in places like Williamsburg in Germany. You find it in places like Edinburgh in England, Mammelsbury. All those words with berry, bra, berg, they're the same. They basically the same as Johannesburg. Deng is a Tswana word. That's what the comment is saying. Deng is a Tswana word. But I didn't say deng is not a Tswana word. I said goud, gauta, which is gold, comes from the Afrikaans word goud. Go and find it out, you'll see. So Gauteng and Egoli, both of them come from the word goud, which is Dutch for gold, and gold, which is English for gold. Gold gives us Egoli, goud gives us Gauteng, which literally means at the place of Gauti, which is gold. Amaxhosa but eGautini, goud still gold. So now, how do you name something like that? Because remember, Johannesburg is a new colonial city. You have to go back to a completely different time with completely different borders. Understand? Now, you have to understand what is the culmination of these cities in the current provinces if we still keep the same provincial borders. If we keep the same provincial borders, what is the current culmination of these ancient sites? Then we name the province based on that. eGautini in isiXhosa, that ini at the end is a locative suffix, the same one as the eng or Gauteng. The eng is a locative suffix. AmaXhosa athi ini, AmaZulu athi ini, Ondini, Elundini, Gautini, Gauteng, Madibeng, Emadibeni. Yeah. Anyway, what Brother Mukaranga also said about the Gaza Empire. People say Gaza in Mozambique is because it's the chosen land of Gaza. No, it's Gaza. I mentioned this. Soshangane doesn't have anything to do with Ukushia Ingane. Ukushanga is to move to different places, to wander around, to not be stable. So Soshangane therefore means the one who keeps on moving. Gaza means to conquer. It means to rule over. That's what the name Gaza means. Ukugasela means to attack and conquer. It's another way to say kuhlasela. That's why they say Ushaka, Lugasane. They call Ushaka Ugasane. Do you understand? Literally, another one of Shaka's names is Ugasane. Kade lubagasela. Luagasela uphungashe wakwabuthelezi. Luagasela usondaba womthanda ehleze bandla. Lwagasela umacingwane ngonyameni, lwagasela umangcengceze emambatheni, lwagasela udladlama kwakwamajola, lwagasela unxaba kaMbhekane, lwagasela ugambushe emampondweni, lwagasela ufakwe emampondweni. That's literally the names, the praises of Ushaka. Lugasane. They called him Ugasane. Kade lubagasela. What is Ugasane? The ruler, the conqueror who's been attacking them. So the name Gaza, therefore, in Gaza Empire has nothing to do with Gaza in Middle East. It's Ukugasa, which gives us Ukugasela, aka Uklasela. The ruler. Now back to the topic of yesterday. I'm done with Azania now. Done. Now back to the topic of yesterday. We were talking about First Nation, blah, blah, blah. This person right here is a Kora Quib. Kora Quib. This man would be called a Hottentot by the definition of the Europeans, which I discussed yesterday. But the very meaning of Hottentot is a lie in and of itself. It's Katkaten. It's the name of the name of the moon. It's the name of the moon. When it's personified, it's called Katkaten. And is personified as the wife of Kagen. The moon is personified as the wife of Agen, which represents the sun. Or Kang, which represents the sun. I did mention Kang is Igange, the fiery ball, the sun. The fiery ball, Igange. So the moon is the wife of the sun in indigenous beliefs. It's personified as Katen. It's a full moon ceremony. AmaXhosa call it Inhlombe. Europeans say Hottentotten. The oldest records say Hottentotten. If you look at the origin of the name Hottentotten, they will tell you that no, it's the way they were describing how they speak Hottentots because they can't speak. No, it's Katkaten, the wife of Kagen or the wife of Kang. It's the moon and the sun. This is a moon deity that was venerated through the moonlight dance known as Inhlombe, when the Xhosa do it around the fire. That dance around the fire is a celebration of the full moon and the new moon. Now I'm going to explain. So when they use the name Hottentot, thank you, Kanezi. Thank you, brother, brother observer. Thank you, Kanezi. When they use the name Hottentot, they're referring to an indigenous society. Now, what is Amalau? What is Amalau? I'm gonna explain, brother. Don't worry. I just need Brother Lee Makara to. Kang is the praying mantis. Again is the praying mantis. Ne? We understand the praying mantis as being a personification or one of the shape-shifted manifestations of the creator being. Why is the praying mantis seen as a manifestation of the creator being? It has certain abilities. The praying mantis, there are documentaries on this. The praying mantis can hypnotize. The praying mantis kills things like snakes and birds. And the praying mantis in our indigenous cultures has always been known to be the key of the heavens. But the praying mantis itself is a reptilian-looking creature. It looks like a reptilian hominin. Literally, it's like a representation of reptilians. Anyway, there's a belief that it's a symbol of the early beings. The early beings. The ones who came first. So we venerate the praying mantis in our cultures. We don't kill it when we see it. When I was growing up, we called it Isthixo Sezulu, the key of the high of the heavens. We call it Umntwana weZulu, the child of the heavens. We even prayed to it. Ngengeze Isthixo Sezulu, ngengeze mntana emZulu. Itsho kuyihlo andiphe ingubo. Excuse my liberty, child of the heaven. May you ask your father to provide me with a skin, with a blanket. Basically, when you go out hunting and you see a praying mantis, you know that's a good omen. Things are going to go well. So anyway, in this belief of the praying mantis, which also manifests as the sun, which is a representation of the creator being, the wife is the moon. Now, if you can do a bit of science research there and understand the relationship between sun and moon, the wife is the moon. When the moon, we understand that the moon dies and resurrects monthly. Thank you, observer. We call it ukufa kwenyanga nokuthwasa kwenyanga, the death of the month and the reappearance of the month. When the month has died, as my mother would say, mntwana minyanga ifile. When the month has died, it means the moon has now disappeared. It's still there in the sky, but you're not going to see its light. It doesn't emit that light. So when the month has died, elderly people still speak in that way. Inyanga ifile. That's their way of saying the month has ended. When the month reappears, what do? We celebrate. It's like a Sabbath for us. The first person to see the new moon, we see it before it appears in the sky. We have a science that we use with an earthen vessel and water. We use water and an earthen vessel to see the new moon before it appears in the sky. I repeat, before the new moon appears in the sky, but we can see it. We can see the new moon before it shows up. There's a book written by a colonizer called Friedrich Ellenberger. The book is called History of Basotho, Modern and Ancient. There they describe some of the Sotho clans, how they used to see the new moon before time. That guy describes fully how it was done. Thank you guys for the gifts. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That guy describes literally how they used to do it. Anyway, we see the new moon, we see signs, little children, we see signs, the women see signs in their bodies. We know it's coming. But why is the new moon so important? The new moon is a resurrection for us. We don't work when it's a new moon. We put down all the hoes. We sing songs around a fire still. Anti-clockwise around the fire. Remember, the fire is called Iqange. There's a song by Ubuhle Bendalomda. The song is Divumlilo Madlomo Disindwa ngumthwalo uvuselela iqange lomlilo apho nyathela khona nozinga thithiba pholisa ndiyathuthunjelwa. You awaken the burning fire with wherever I step. And then she says the clan names. Iqange is a burning fire. So the fire we make at the center, whether it's inside the kraal or outside, which we call shitiko, shanzilo, iziko lomlilo, the hearth of the fire, the fireplace. That fire represents the sun. And anything we do around that fire has to go anti-clockwise. It has to go anti-clockwise. Even inside our kraal, things have to go anti-clockwise. Inside the house, anti-clockwise. Like solar bodies around the sun as they move about the sun. Even when we dance around the fire in the new moon, what do? The fire represents the sun, the moon is appearing. It's like the sun is welcoming the new moon. So we dance anti-clockwise. We reach a state of elevated consciousness called Trum, state of Trum. This is where people they like to say, when you slept so good like a baby, we say silele Trum, we slept Trum. That state of Trum is where you are able to exit your body and communicate with cosmic bodies. That's where knowledge of health and healing is transferred. Anyway, why am I telling you this? It's because there's an entire central belief around Qaten and Gang or Qagen. This is the moon, this is the praying mantis, this is the sun, and many other creatures such as the bull, etc. Thank you, Observer. Someday you should introduce yourself. You should join the panel, introduce yourself, Observer. You've been hiding for too long. I'm not forcing, someday though. So now, the early records then of the word Hottentot, it comes from the Dutch, Europeans. They couldn't understand what's being said. You understand? They couldn't. Now, I'm going to the Malawi people. In Asia, there's a kingdom. It's called Muluyu Guo in Chinese. In the Middle Chinese, it's called Matlayu Kuok. It's called Malayu Kingdom or Jambi Kingdom. You can go and search it up. Search the Malayu Kingdom or Malayu Kingdom or the Jambi Kingdom. Ne? This is how the place called Malaysia got its name, by the way. The name Malay is actually Malayu or Mlayu or Melayu. It's a Javanese term. In Sungai, in fact, there's a river called Sungai Melayu. It's the Melayu River. I just don't have the pictures, unfortunately. Brother Limakara, would you find me? Just go online, search Melayu Kingdom, and then also go and search Malau, Mount Lau in Indonesia, and maybe get the pictures. Now, why am I mentioning the Malayu people? I spoke to a couple of colored people. There's a group that I'm an important member of. That group has a lot of colored people. Yeah, this is Mount Lau that I'm talking about, and Malayu Kingdom. So I was speaking to some of these colored people. They are telling me that back in the day, there used to be a derogatory term called Boho Malau to refer to some portion of the so-called colored people in South Africa. Boko Malawi. And I was wondering, why are they called Boko Malawi? He says no, because they are Malaysian descendants, or the descendants of the Malawi people, who are people of, they are related to the Chinese. You understand? They're related to the Chinese and obviously to the Tibetans. That's where I'm going. So within our ranks as indigenous societies, we have East Asian peoples. So people say Tibet. Tibet is basically southwestern China, because it's a plateau in southwestern China. People say Malaysia, same thing, same people. You see, this is where the name Amalau comes in. But Amalau are not just found amongst colored people. They are found amongst Xhosa, they are found amongst Zulu, they are found amongst multiple groups. We have understood that these are people who came. They are not indigenous to the country. They came to the country. Some as slaves. They joined our societies amongst the so-called colored society. Now, colored society is a culmination of different groups. Colored society is a culmination of Afro-Asian slaves. Slaves from Mozambique, slaves from Angola, slaves from Congo, the west coast of Africa like Guinea, etc., Ethiopia, and slaves from Asia like in Indonesia, etc. Some of those were Melayu people, Melayu, Amalau, many of which practice Islam, and they admit that they are Malaysians. But many of those who say they are Malaysians actually were allowed some privileges under apartheid and colonialism segregation. They were allowed some privileges, and therefore they were able to maintain their identity in a way, because they had their own separate lands. In Cape Town, there's a place called the Malayu Quarters, or the Malay Quarters. The Malay Quarters, today it's a place called Bokap, the Upper Cape. But there were many Malays who joined other societies instead of the mixed group society called colors. There are many Malays who joined within Amakos. To this day, we've got people. You see this gentleman in my screen. He's Kora. He's an indigenous South African. But within his own people, there are Malawi. We have a captain called Siakolis. Within his people, there are Malawi. In fact, there's even someone I went to school with the last name Malawi. So these are people of Asian origin. Now, it's very important to understand that what people understand as Asian features, whether it's monolith eyes, or epicanthal folds, it's not really Asian features. Because if you look even in those Asian countries where people have those eyes, there were indigenous populations of much darker shade, much more afro or coiled hair. Thank you, observer. So when we say Malawi Asians, it's not because of their appearance. I'll show you something quickly. Because people use appearance such as this to say these people are Asians. It could not be any further from the truth. This is an indigenous South African. And there are many appearances to indigenous South Africans. This is an indigenous South African as well. I'll show you something quickly. This is an indigenous South African who speaks Xhosa. This is a Qunukwa. Within them, some Amalau joined. But Amalau would be found in huge abundance amongst areas where you had the colonizers, where the ships used to dock. Now you would find the huge populations of Amalau. And Amalau obviously would end up joining the ranks of the indigenous people in attempts to free themselves. This gentleman right there is Tembu. He's a black South African. If we then say people who look like this are Chinese, because that's what I've heard online, when they attack us, they say we are not African, we are Asians. This is a gentleman. His surname is Nomai. Good brother of mine. He allowed me to use his photos. This is a Tembu man. He has monolith eyes, epicanthal folds, exactly as what they describe as Asian. These are not Asian eyes. These are indigenous African bloody eyes. You see these bloody same eyes in the northeast areas of Africa. You go to Sudan, you go to parts of Ethiopia, you find people who look with exactly these eyes. Some call them Nilotics. You find more Oromo like this. This brother here, he's Tembu. Thank you, observer. Proper African. In fact, there's a guy that I know called Stephen Duku. Stephen Duku. Go and check him out. He's a Nigerian. Stephen Duku. The surname is NDUKWU. He has a take it a bit closer to home before I get to my point. Let me take it a bit closer to home. Bit closer to home, eh? I'm gonna look now for my father. I always show my father in these things. It's important. It's very important that I get this point across. Oh, by the way, this is my niece, lovely niece of mine, my sister's child, beautiful niece of mine. I was out, ne? Okay. What I was saying is that these features they consider to be Asian or foreign, these are indigenous South African features. This is my niece right here. I was just showing the pictures. This is my sister's daughter. This is brother. This brother is Tembu, proper Tembu brother, indigenous South African. But I want you to look at the features. He's a black man. No mixture. No blood mixture here. The only mixture you can find is South African indigenous societies. So now, where do the Malawi come in? They came and joined indigenous societies. When they were running away from being enslaved, those who did not want to collaborate, because there were two groups. You had the collaborators. Oh, these are my aunts, by the way. These are my aunts. Europeans would have you believe that these people are Asian. No, not even. Pure Homo sapien, Baba. Homo sapien blood flowing in every vein. No admixture from non-human entities. So now the Malawi, what happens is they were enslaved. One group became collaborators. One group tried to free themselves by running. Those who became collaborators to this day, they still have strong influence in the country. They still have their own separated areas of heritage. So all I'm saying is that we do know who the Malawi people are. Let me put it like that. We've always known, we still know to this day. The problem is that now people who do not know about this subject want to talk about it. Thank you, Observer. People who have no clue what this subject is want to talk about it. What I can tell you is that during the wars for the land of my ancestors, during the battles for the land of my forefathers, there were tactics that were used. And one of the tactics was to use human shields as buffer zones. I'll give an example. There's a place called the Kloof, the Waterkloof in the Eastern Cape. Its indigenous name, we call it Ngwenga, which means the Wildcat River. It's called the Waterkloof. The Europeans came to that area. They brought a bunch of mixed race people, including the Malawi people. They demarcated an area for those people, chased away anyone who was there, created a new community. The purpose of this community was to serve as a buffer zone, which means to prevent us from defending our lands effectively. When they want to attack, they go with these people that they've put in that buffer zone, they attack us together. When we want to attack, they literally know that these guys are going to defend them first. So that's one thing that happened. These Malawi people were used as buffer zones. To this day, they are still being used as buffer zones. Because when we say, no, we want our land back, you'll find they'll say, oh no, the first people here were the Malawi. But we know the Malawi were literally brought in with ships. Thank you, Observer. We know that as a matter of fact. So we understand that's one of the tactics they used. If they failed doing that, they would take one of us, change them into Christianity, use them against us. It happened again in the Eastern Cape. Now, I will mention the Eastern Cape because there were wars that spanned over 101 years in the Eastern Cape. That is the longest the British have ever had to fight a single group of people. That was the longest. For 101 years, between 1778 to 1879, they fought this battle. They had to come with methods, different methods. They fought against us using our own people. They converted them to Christianity. The ancestors of former President Thabo Mbeki used to fight side by side with Europeans. The ancestors of Zozibini Tunes, former Miss SA and Miss Universe, used to fight side by side with the Europeans. But when they realize, hey, these people, they're done killing our people, they're coming for us, now they want to join back. When they failed using our own people, they use Malawi. And it works like magic to this day. To this day, there are lives that are being hosted daily to attack us. We didn't do nothing to no one. We just existed. But we are not sorry for existing. We are not sorry for existing. If our existence bothers you, go jump off. We are coming with all that we have. We are coming with all that we have. See, ha! Zakal is Kal. It's not going to get any nicer now for liars and invaders and pretenders. It's not going to get any nicer. Because the truth that's about to come out, well, if you think what we are doing right now is telling the truth, we have not even begun to scratch the surface. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface. This is introduction. I'm just letting my people know so that they start smelling the coffee because they are too delusional. Thank you, Nondwaiza. Thank you, Observer. We haven't even begun. There in Waterkloof in the Eastern Cape, when there was a battle of Ngwenga, there were two people and they led some groups of people. They realized, hey, no, we can't continue being collaborators now. Because these people, after using us, we are their next victims. One of those people was a man called Henry Matros. His Xhosa name was Nkumeshe. Nkumeshe means big, corpulent man who's a leader. Henry Matros was a colored man of mixed heritage. Thank you, Nondwaiza, and thank you, Observer. I really appreciate it. Henry Matros, go and research about Henry Matros. He was like, I'm not going to be used by Europeans to destroy these people. I'm more related to these people than Europeans. He fought. The Xhosa people gave him a name. He was given land by King Sahili. Ndaba. Another one who said, I'm not going to be a collaborator anymore. I'm going to fight alongside these people was a man called Willem Eidhalter. He was the closest to the Prince Makoma. Willem Eidhalter. They used to call him Ilawu Lika Makoma, the Lau of Makoma. That one, he was a horse rider. Elite level. And we fought together against these Europeans. So there is people that are known as Malawi. We know them. Malawi is not a replacement of Hottentot. Hottentot is a misidentification by Europeans. In fact, the names that these people have been calling us, names like Kafir, it started there with the so-called Hottentots were also called Kafir at first. Then they went to call Amaxhosa Kafir, to such a point that Eastern Cape was called Kafraria. Interestingly, it's similar to Azania in the sound. Eastern Cape was called Kafraria. To this day, if you go to Qonce, King Williamstown, you'll find some places there. A place called Kafrarian Heights. It's a region there in Qonce. It's a suburb. Kafrarian Heights. Kafraria was the name for Eastern Cape. In fact, the proper reference to Kafir was the people of Cape Town and Eastern Cape. The original Kafirs were those people. That's what they referred to. When they said Kafirs, they referred to people of Eastern Cape and Western Cape. People they found here. We can go as far back as 1486. When the Portuguese, thank you, Observer brother. I will keep on saying thank you, guys. If I don't say thank you, just know I'm thankful. When the Portuguese came here in 1486, they sailed as far to the Eastern Cape as Keiskamma, a place known as Kesi to the local people and Keiskamma to the Dutch. They went there, they stopped there. The first person to get off was a person called De Almeida. The captain. No, De Almeida was the leader. The captain was Infantino. He was the first guy to get out. He described the estuary. Estuary is the water mouth, the river mouth. He described how it looked. We know it's but most importantly, when he got off that boat, he tells us he saw houses like a village of people. He didn't see people outside, but he saw a village in the distance. It's 1486. So where is this terra nullus that these people talk about? They tell us that South Africa was terra nullus, which means no man's land, empty land. I get it, they say it's empty land. But for that to work, the concept of empty land to work, the indigenous people must have come from somewhere else. This is why they are pushing this idea of that we came from somewhere else. They are pushing it so much. And it's based on the concept of terra nullius. But the first Europeans who came here in the 1400s saw people already. They wrote about them. So we know about the Malawi people. We know many of them were working as collaborators. Many of them were working as replacement for us. But the features of the people of this country are the features of the people of this country. You see the man you see there, that's my father. That's my biological father. The woman you see there with beads, that's my biological sister. I want you to just look at their eyes, nothing else. You can see their eyes are monolids, epicanthal folds. As they would say, this is Korean eyes or Chinese eyes. Ain't no bloody Chinese eyes here. We ain't no Chinese. We are Africans. We are indigenous of this land. And we are not apologetic about that. This is my nephew. My lovely nephew. Beautiful boy. Love him. I'm showing this just to demonstrate. I'm not even using strangers now. Just to demonstrate that we talk of things we know. Former President, Mr. Kgalema Motlanthe, monolid eyes. I'm not even talking about skin color right now. Just one constant feature. And it doesn't mean, we have to be very smart here. I'm not saying people who don't have eyes like this are not indigenous South Africans. Every South African culture that exists right now, we are indigenous to South Africa. Any self-respecting scholar will know this is the most basic fact ever. Any self-respecting scholar knows this as a fundamental point of departure. But I want to say these people they don't have Chinese features. No. Instead, it's the Chinese who have our features. Now, what you want to look for, thank you, observer. What you want to look for is what happened. Because if you go to China, if you go to the Philippines, if you go to China, if you go to the Philippines, you will see the original inhabitants looked like us, including the hair. Because they came from us. They came from bloody us. Why now all of a sudden they are the ones who are our ancestors instead of us being their ancestors? They are the ones who mixed with the Homo Denisovan. They are the ones who mixed with other entities. They are the ones who mixed with the Neanderthals and became whatever they are now. We did not mix with Neanderthals. We are still indigenous people. You see people who look like this, you will see them in any shebeen in South Africa, getting drunk every weekend. These are generally how our uncles look, how the uncle next door looks in the villages, in the townships, or even in the suburbs. It doesn't matter. Earth dweller, that's your cousin. Mr. Mutlante, hey, you must make the things happen, Mos. Mutlante must make the things happen, eh? We need shows on TV. So, brother Sonini, what I'm saying here is that we do know about the people amongst us who are not of us. In fact, I can go as far as saying we know the people who are descendants of Europeans amongst us. We know they are there. And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the descendants of white people, of Europeans, with recorded history. This is not hearsay. We have recorded history. We know that there are people who descend from Europeans. I know some people personally that I'm close to that are European children. We know them by their clan names, which is their bloodline. We know them by their last names. We've got those Krugers, we've got Dawkins, we've got Barnes, we've got Bedefords, we've got descendants of Portuguese, descendants of Dutch, we've got descendants of French, we've got descendants of Irish, we've got descendants of Scottish, we've got descendants of Bretons and Celtic peoples here in South Africa. We've got descendants of these. Siyabonga Mdebek. Yeah, no, obvious. Because tomorrow I'm going to be doing this. Generally, I start my lives around 5 or 6. So around 5, that's when I start my lives.
Baba, if I may interject, based on what you're saying so far, I'm just understanding you. But I just make mention to Lee that Lee is gonna give me the more in-depth definition of things you've been saying, and because one of my holdbacks is that as much as I'm respecting the African intel and learning the information, one of my holdback is that it takes time for me to learn these new African names and tribes and keep it embedded in my cognitive to remember. Well, when I hear it next time, this is Bantu, you know. So, but listening to what you're saying, I was even putting in the chat. I find you guys taking too long, man. You know, but there's a saying that a hurry bird doesn't build a good nest, eh? So at the same time, I may feel, that you guys are taking too long to come out and bring the facts and help bring clarity into this awakening that we're all going through.
Yeah.
Because we are going through awakening, and they have distorted our history. And I was kind of amazed and surprised, even when I was learning from you guys, that there are people that speak some ancient click languages that are deemed to be lost, but it's still alive. You know what I'm saying? And these points, Baba, that you mentioned is critical in our So I'm saying you see, you can never be right all the time, and you can never be wrong all the time. And one thing I say, we have to put truth where truth belongs, if I'm to put in the expression. So I'm supporting you guys where that is concerned, because I'm learning a lot from you guys along the way, and you guys do have your history that has been hidden and tarnished and corrupted, where you
Yes.
guys have been attacked, and I don't like that. I just see it as more of dividing the people and keeping us separated. We messed up in the past, and I think during this awakening that we all going through, I think that at some point in time we'll have to come back to the point where we went off course, so to speak, make our wrongs right, let bygones be bygones, if so to speak, and I'm saying, and come together, because we have a greater threat in amongst us, and I think the greater there's a greater thing to look at. So I want to commend you on the work that you're doing, and
Yes.
again, I would love to become a tutor from you to learn. There's the thing with me, I self teach myself the language, and sometimes I do get wary, because I just feel in a kind of way, if I do have someone at the side of me, it will speed up the process in me learning my language even quickly. And then by that effect, when you guys need to explain things to me or break it down, and you guys have to go into your language to give me more clarity, I think I want to be in that position. So I want to make sure, I want to reiterate again. Yeah, put me down on the list for learning language, or private tutoring or whatever the case may be. I done for that and already, and also to learn much on our cosmology system. The way how we looked at the astrology, and especially the lunar cycles and these different things. Because I've been told by the ancestors that I need to go down into that realm. So I just kind of put it on delay to come on this platform and deal with the deception. So I just want to just make mention of that. But thank you again so much, Baba.
Thank you, brother. No, thank you so much. No, we can organize the private lessons. Absolutely. You will get nothing below premium and elite. That's what I can say. My approach into language is deeply spiritual. So if you are keen, let's do it. So yeah, the key about South Africa and Southern Africa generally, because a lot of the things we talk about in South Africa also apply to Southern African countries generally. You see, there are 3 branches of origin for all of us. All of us. 3 branches. 1, Ingasi, the people known as Abatwa. Ingasi, Amang'ang, in no order. 2, Kwe, the people known as Hottentot. 3, 2, Ndru, Abantu, Batu. These 3 branches come from the same source. These 3 branches of the fundament of the peopling of South Africa come from the same source. In fact, the 2 branches, Abantu and Abakwe, the so-called Hottentot and 2 peoples, these 2 branches themselves are a layer or a further branch of the Ingasi, Abatwa. Anyone who's genuine in their pursuit of truth knows this. There is an absolute and inescapable, inevitable link between these 3 groups. These are the ancestors of South Africa. I'm not mentioning so-called tribes, because before these things called tribes even existed, before AmaZulu, before AmaXhosa, before Bapedi, before Mavenda, I'm talking about the BC era now. These 3 groups are, in essence, what gives birth to the peopling of South Africa in the BC era. There's been many archaeological sites uncovered as far as Kalundu and Urewe in Uganda and Zambia. As far as Platfontein, there have been many archaeological sites in the Kalahari, in Zimbabwe, in Limpopo, in Mpumalanga, in the Gauteng region. They show a clear connection between these groups from Kalundu, Urewe iron smelters to the Northeast African skulls and skeletons in Nakada 1 and Nakada 2 of hunter-gatherers. It's clear, even if people would say perhaps 500,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago, we were not in South Africa. The evidence suggests the three groups I'm talking about were still together 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. These groups were already together. What I'm saying, guys, we are mixed with each other over thousands of years, over and over and over and over again. I know it's hard to understand. It's very hard to understand for someone who thinks tribally. Because in your mind, if I'm Sutu, why then should I be related to this thing, to this person? I'm Sutu, Baba. No, relax. Relax. We're going back thousands of years now. Now we're no longer talking about mythology now of 1800s history of Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth. We're talking about blood now. Archaeological excavation in regions like Kalundu, Urewe show continuity between Central to Southern Africa and Southern to Central Africa, crossing over to the Nile region. All these three groups, I'm not talking about Bantu or Khoisan, these nonsensical labels. I'm talking about the three foundational peoples who give birth to the people that we identify ourselves with today. Tina, we are young. Amaxhosa, we are young formations. We are formations from at least 700 AD to 1400s. Thank you, Nondwaiza. We are very young polities. Amaxhosa, Amazulu, Bavenda. We are young in terms of history. History is a long timeline. We are a young manifestation of the intermixing of these three people. But these three groups who are Africans, indigenous people who come from the same root, as haplogroups and mitochondrial DNA suggest and prove, these are Homo sapien peoples. These three groups mixed, separated, mixed, separated, mixed, separated over and over and over again, just like they're still doing to this day. We are still mixing over and over and over again. Some of my people, my ancestors were Sutu. Some of my ancestors were Kwaikwe. Some of my ancestors were Xhosa. Some of my ancestors were Amazizi. Some of my ancestors were this group, with this group, with that group. That's the nature of things. So the Klingasi, Kwe, Ndu peoples is the fundamental fabric of the peopling of South Africa. Without these people, today we are obsessed with Agemuvenda, Enda, Barimini. You can't be obsessed with that because that's a much more recent, that's a recent identity. And when I say recent, I mean like maybe in the past 500 years. But if you go back thousands of years, we do proper gene sequencing. You realize that, we are very ancient to this province. So even political tools from Khoisan activists who try to use politics to claim things, a lot of them, they desecrate the purity of indigenous history. They desecrate it because they take things politically. Kalundu is a location where they did archaeological excavations. Kalundu with a D, and Urewe. Now, Homo sapien is just a grouping. It's a grouping. It's Europeans who called us that. Thina singabantu or abatwa or kwe, which also has the exact same meaning. Abantu, abatwa, and kwe has the exact same meaning. Now, there's intermixing within these indigenous African groups. Some of these indigenous African groups then go on to intermix with entities from the ice, Homo neanderthalans. Remember, Homo means human or the earthling. So I just wanted to clarify before I close this live. The peopling of South Africa, there's no culture that exists in South Africa today that is not indigenous, except for the Cape Malays, and the Europeans. And then within the colors, there's indigenous cultures as well. No, Homo sapien is meaningless in essence, except that Homo sapien, remember now, let me put it this way, because there are people who are not Homo sapiens, like Homo neanderthalensis, Homo denisovans, they are not Homo sapiens, they are not humans. There are people who have had mixture from non-human entities. Yabo. Abantu, Abantu, Abakwe, all these words means humans, but these words are connected to earth. When you go deep into the meanings of some of these words, are generally words that mean the earth, the dust of the soil, the physical matter. So Abantu have always said it. Think about intutu. When we talk about abatwa, same thing. Think about ku or gub, umquba, which is words that are used to mean human. You see, from umquba. You understand? Kwe means the essence of a human being, the essence. We usually say unomkwa unemikwa, kimikwa ya hai. Umkwa. You understand? Kwe, kwa, it means the essence of a person, the real identity of a person. What I'm saying is that these are the peoples who are the fundamental progenitors of South African societies. When we talk about South Africans are not people from 1600s. South Africans are not from 1600s. It's Europeans who get here 1600s and 1400s. South Africans have always existed long before that. And this is where the problem is. People are stuck in something that was written in the 1600s. They think that's the truth. I'm this group. We are the Kurikikwa. I'm the chief lord of the is invading me. Man. And the whole of Stellenbosch, land that belonged to the Kochokwa people, is owned by Rupert and Rothschild and their friends. You are busy claiming things that are far from you. Nothing wrong with reviving history. And this applies for colored people as well. There are colored people who are genuinely Kwe descendants. Same thing for Sotho, Tswana, Zulu, Pedi, etc. But it's not this some exclusive big boys club of Kwe. Only colored are Kwe. There are colored people who are not Kwe. My brother Xolwa Kauseb was mentioning here people like Benny McCarthy and people like Gayton McGaines are not Kwe. There's that other one now. There's that new one, Pizza. Ashley Sauls. He's a Kwe chief now. Yeah? Do you understand the danger of acting as if one group represents Kwe? Kwe people are not colored. Some colored people are Kwe. Kwe people are Kwe, and that's it. Regardless of whether they speak Xhosa or they speak isiZulu, or because they are the fundamental progenitors of Abantu baseMzansi. Do you understand? When you understand the founding peoples of this country, those three groups that I mentioned, these are the founding peoples of this country. They are beyond any tribe or any ethnic community that exists today. So those founding groups that I mentioned, they can be in any group. They can be Sotho, they can be Tswana, they can be colored. It's like Basotho. Basotho can be colored. They're Gayton McKenzie, they're Benny McCarthy. There are Basotho who speak isiXhosa. There are Basotho who are Zulu, like Zuma, Jacob Zuma. There are Basotho, those ones there. Or Sotho Tswana groups. That's what I'm trying to say. Within AmaXhosa, we have Sotho Tswana groups, but then they are Xhosa. So the identity is interwoven and heavily nuanced, and it's not for the simpletons. Our indigenous identity is not for simple-minded beings. Because next thing you'll be fighting online. Mina ngiyalizonda iXhosa mina. Mina ndiyifuna inzule mina. Kilithosa kibaXhosa. Hayi amaMpedi angeke mina ngidlalwa amaMpedi. Matsulo alapisa. It's nice and fun, but those things are dumb, to say the least. Matsulo alapisa Matsulo. Uyalazi iXhosa, liyaxoka iXhosa. Mina mangiyena umaba ukuthi mina angeke mina ngihlala namaZulu. Sound so backwards when you say things like that. You sound so backwards because you have no clue what you're talking about. You have no clue what you're talking about. So there's a question. Why do they say we are West Africans? You must watch the live from yesterday. I posted it. There are no West Africans here. The only West Africans that are here are people who came as slaves, and most of them are colors and whites. There may be a few, maybe in Eastern Cape, like 0.1%. We are not West Africans. We are indigenous South Africans. That one is not even something I'm gonna entertain. The West Africans I know were slaves in the Cape Colony, mostly in Cape Town. Their children are there in Paarl and Worcester today. The descendants of the slaves from West Africa. I don't know why they are projecting their West African identity on us. We are not West Africans, Tina. We are people of this land, Baba. I'm not a West African. My ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Tell me some West African nonsense here. When did I become a West African now? And again, I'm saying West Africans are humans. Ngabantu nabo. They're humans like us. So if you are West African, just like there's nothing wrong with being East African, as long as you are a decent human being. Now, if you go around scamming people, unfortunately, people are not going to want to associate with you, even though they probably have, genetic relations to you. They're not going to associate because agree you are busy being a scammer. So people are afraid to associate with West Africans because they're scammers and they do human sacrifice. They must stop doing that. People are going to accept them. But no, man, we have written records of South Africans who descend from West Africans. Most of them are in Cape Town or the Greater Western Cape altogether. So that one is a fallacy. It's a fallacious, unfounded statement. My people, I'm done for today. I'm closing now, but I'm going to allow my brother to say something. I'm closing. My battery is like on 2% or something. Yesterday, my battery died while I was busy with the live, so I don't want to repeat the same thing. And my power bank is dying, so I need to charge afresh. But yeah, Azania is not our name. It's a colonial slave name. We are not Azania. You can name the country whatever. You can call it Khamaba. You can call it Naremab. You can call it whatever you want to call the country. It doesn't matter to me. For you, you can call it South Africa if you want. Mara is not going to change that. When you say Azania, you are saying Niggerland, the land of the nigger. Brother close. Yeah, but King Ozana, you see the thing, the King Ozana is young. The name Azania is much older. It's from the BC era.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother. You've said something mouthfully, and I acknowledge with you what you're saying. Even myself, I'm speaking to you, charging my phone because of my battery as well. I struggle with that as well. Let me be very quick with what you're saying, what you have mentioned, especially when it comes to the renaming of the country and so forth. Politicians must stop this habit of trying to take names from struggles that never emanated from here. Politicians are selling the concept of not knowing. They're acting like also these Khoisan activists as well, who are giving without having to do a deeper research about what they are actually fighting for. Make an example. If you go to PE Airport, it's named, the airport is named David Stearman, right? And the airport is named as David Stearman. The chief was not known as Stearman. Stearman, it's a place name. It's a name, right? It would have been better if they called that name Singhachab, because this is what Stearman's actual name. Do you understand? Singhachab. Singha, it means to, when you say see, it means to send, right? See, it's to tell, right? Chabai, because he was a messenger, basically. Do you understand? I get this frustration because people, they want to act as if Kwe people, they spoke English, these were their real name, but they don't understand that these names were not real names. These were converted missionary names because of the missionary system was inculcating for indigenous people to be converted from their original ways, because it was a difficult manner in which our people, I mean, Europeans, they couldn't try to engage with in the past, you understand? It had to take a special person
Yes,
who
yes.
had to be dedicated in order to adapt and to learn and also to absorb themselves into the culture as well. South Africans, by the most, they are not aware of landscapes that are existing in South Africa. Mostly, they are named by indigenous speaker, whether it's a Kwemana speaker, whether it's a Gwenkia speaker, whether it's a Kwedam speaker or Kweguap speaker, they contributed immensely in naming the whole landscape. From Eastern Cape, Western Cape, from Northern Cape, it doesn't matter. These Cape systems that I've mentioned, they are coming from your Kora naming direction systems, which exclusively existed in South Africa. Your Sorapna Kwaha your Sorepna and your Sorepna Ahat, which is your Western Cape. I started with Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and Western Cape. They don't understand the basis of these landscapes that they come from indigenous people. But the problem is our people, they are very lazy. They would go rather fetch something very far away from them and not link it with something that is much nearer than them as well. Before there was Free State, we used to say Gamka. We used to say Gamka. We used to say Gamka Kariba, right? To across or over Kariba, right? Meaning when you cross the Gamka Kariba, then meaning you were in the Free State. So elderly people, when they identified, they would say that one who is over the Orange or the Karib River or Karib River. This is how our people identified and elders at that particular time. The Free State issue, it came when the time that the Boers then started establishing colonies, and that the Boers, the British, they started naming systems in South Africa and in territorial terrains and stuff. That's when town, like I've mentioned before, like right, means your clouds that gathered around or which is your table mountain. If you go there in winter, if it's very cold in you'll find that from all sides that there's a clouds they gather. That is why it's a place that is called in that fashion. Our people don't understand the name with the Kwe language as a result of people. They think Kwe language is just a specific language system. It's very deep. If people can take interest, especially these scholars, they will find. Before I came to this live, I was with another scholar from Zimbabwe as well. I engaged with him for 2 hours in terms of he was asking questions, learning, and I'm here to teach people. If I have time, I will give you all the time into teaching and giving lessons as well. Our people in South Africa, they're in this jinx of darkness when it comes to Kwe history. They will always rather engage in your dialectic form, in maybe in this current day form dialects such as your Setswana, Sesotho, or Sizulu, whatever, right? But myself, I've always maintained, I identified what my ancestors come into. When I dream of my ancestors, they don't dream in isiXhosa. They come in Kua. They Kua. And when they Kua, I'd listen to what they say. And I'd ask them to physically show me, because they speak deeper in a version that I wouldn't understand. And I will eventually understand what they're saying. Do you understand? So I want our people to start meditating. Light those candles. Light those which is impepho. They must light them. Gouge ngaba which is basically that impepho. They must light it. They must also light the same candles as well. Let them ask themselves who they are. They will see dreams will never tell a lie. If somebody is not from this world, then spiritually it will connect them to the place of their origin. My brother, thank you very much. I don't want to waste people's batteries and stuff.
Thank
But
you, brother, man.
I want the name of Azania, it should not be utilized because it's not attached
Absolutely.
to South Africa. I
Absolutely.
feel like people who are having the abilities to change the state of that name, Azania, I mean, to South Africa, as I said, they must come to us, indigenous linguists, so that we can teach them about South Africa and landscapes. South Africa, it is a land of the rich. That is why we say Ngaka,
Cool.
Khuxu, or Khuxu, Chaba, meaning it's a
Yeah.
land of riches, because ancestors who lived in this land, they were wealthy, they were not poor people. When Europeans arrived and saw these people, they saw these people were wealthy. That is why ka Setswana ba re ke Afrika Borwa. E ne rwetse ka borui. That is why in Africa Borwa. That is why in Botswana it was not Borwa, because of Botswana was not a rich country at that time of field, but here it was very rich, you see. So we must maintain the richness, not Azania, something that is it's associated with Arabic and Persian language, and a language that is that is connected with Zanji, identifying black people as slaves. You see, I don't conform to that. Yes, in Arabic it's something else. It does not entail something of that fashion. But I'm saying we're not Arabs here. We
We
are
aren't.
Ngaka Ona or Ngaka di Ona Khaba. Do you understand? So we are children of the South, and it must be maintained in that fashion, my brother. Thank you very much. My brother. Thank you very much.
My brother. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm not gonna allow the other people to speak because my phone is gonna die. I think let's hold it here for now. Tomorrow I'm hosting another live, guys. I'm hosting another live. I'm gonna talk about European descendants amongst our people, Asian descendants, and men, obviously, questions and all those kind of things. It's important that we talk about these things because people are peddling lies. There are lives that are dedicated to saying Zulu people are from the Caucasus Mountains. I was shocked when Nondwaiza mentioned. Apparently now Xhosa and Zulu, they are not even Asian anymore. More, they started by saying Xhosa and Zulu are from West Africa, and then they are from Middle East. Now apparently they are from the Caucasus Mountain, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. So tomorrow, hey, tomorrow I'm going full in. One by 10. Zoba slicer. Zoba slicer bonke. Hey guys, I'm off now. I'm done. I'm tired. My name is Sandile Tukan. Ndingumfene mna, ndingucazi, ndingusanzanza, ndinguncagala, ndingusandlalanca. Ndinguzaba umfene mazabiyo, zabelo abafokazi. Ndikuphala kuhle le ndlela iyehlela. Ndingumalile lwazi intombi zithi mfo khawundizeke. Ndinguluncu, ndingumwandla, ndingumandi wafikela ohlangeni. Ndingokwamayikana, ndingokwaVibhise, ndingokwarhwala emgodleni, ndingokwageqa amatye. Ndingokwapheka iphemphem ngengxawana, wapheka iqhakuba ngengxawana. Ibekeletyeni itywe zimbovane, ndingumfene mnomfene zimabutho ahlukana xa kutshona ilanga. Ndinguhlathela ingothiwa sele livutha lothiwa zimfene kuba imfene zibaninilo. Nna ke motshweneng, ke motho wa motshwene. Ke motho wa khiba, wa kgamadi, wa phofolo. Lelimi linsu, urhuma ditlhare. Ndizalwa ngumanzotho umanyelenzi umaphango ungqala ungqange ngqanqasini ugxuxa uqhama uwele. Oyini bafazi bentsikizi le ntsholo nayiphazama nithabatha isidoda ingoma ehlatyelwa isifazi. Untsibankulu kayuthu untaba kahila unabele emntwini isiqasomile somile zona zintshaba. Nkomo zikambiko zikamancamu zikamlawo. Ndiyimfene mna sithi bhorhom. Umzukulwana ke emampehla nocaba shonke ombomvu. Into zakulombi, into zakuloyibeka wakulokani. Ndingumzukulwana mna ke emantlane nontlanga onqabane. Ongqungqusho oziqelekazi ohlamba ngobenda amanzi ekhona. Ndibisizukuzuku ke mna ke kofaka othahlo ndayeni. Faka ofakayo wena ikhupha isawubhidana. Nqula ke amacirha. Ndinqula amagcina. Oncancashe, oyelusho omalamba yendle, omalamba edlile. Into ezidla igusha zabelungu ziziduli zethafa. Ndithi camagu ke kongqosini, kocihoshe, kothithiba, konozinga. Thikoloshe phuma ezingqongolweni. Imbokotho emnyama kaThikoloshe eqenqeleka isehla senyuka phezu komlambi igqili. Ndithi hoyini bafazi bentsikizi le ntsholo nayiphazama nithabatha isidoda ingoma ehlatyelwa isifazi. Ndicamagushe ke kumagiqwa. ndicamagushe koojikithwe, ndicamagushe koonkosana, ndicamagushe omva bayiketile, omnqayela inqindi. Kuthiwa ntshinga ikhwazwa ngabayaziyo. Ndithi camagu ke koodlamini, koozizi, koongqibi noboya, komo zikajama, komo zikasija